It was a gloomy, rainy night. Sir Fernando, it isn't him, is it? Please tell me it isn't him, Catherine said. Miss, Sir Fernando said, as the attending physician for House Grint, I can say with confidence that these symptoms mean you are pregnant, Catherine Grint. Catherine could not believe it. She was currently facing the greatest crisis of her 22 years of life. Teach, that's impossible, Catherine said. I even had my period after that day. How long did it last? The doctor asked again. Usually it lasts about a week, but that time it was only 2 days, Catherine answered honestly. See? So it can't be that, right? Getting pregnant after just one night makes no sense. It is very possible that bleeding may have occurred when the baby implanted in your womb. And this month, your usually regular cycle did not come at all. The doctor's words struck Catherine like a stone to the head. And these smoked flying fish slices you love so much, the doctor continued. Normally, I never turned down any herring dish, yet now I could not even stand the smell. Yes, though I did not want to believe it, this was reality. First, we should inform the Count. As he spoke, he slowly closed the container of smoked flying fish slices. No, Catherine suddenly grabbed the doctor's hand. Then what do you intend to do? The doctor asked. I only need you to keep this secret until I think of a way, Catherine said. If it were me, a precious and dearly loved youngest daughter found to be pregnant before marriage, they would surely beat me unconscious and strike my name from the family register, Catherine thought. Her hands began to tremble. My lady, please try to calm down, the doctor soothed her. Do you truly think the Count would go that far? How could you think that? Besides, regarding Lord Morrill, the Count also knows your feelings for him. And are the two families not already discussing a marriage alliance? It will be all right. Please don't worry. And most importantly, you are already engaged. Ansel Morrill, father knew. Her older brother knew. Even the person himself knew. He was the one Catherine had secretly loved for 10 years. And just as Dr. Fernando had said, the two families were discussing a marriage alliance. Though this sudden accident left Catherine embarrassed and ashamed, with her usual free-spirited personality, she should not have been this painfully anxious. Yet at this moment, her mind was blank, her vision dark, her chest tight, and tears nearly spilled from her eyes because the child's father was not Lord Morrill. When I choked out those words, Dr. Fernando's eyes widened abruptly. The incident had to be traced back to 1 month and 1 week earlier. Your smile shines like a fallen angel. Your back is so broad, like the ocean itself. I want to gallop across that back like a fine steed. Catherine was composing a letter. Are you ready? I'm ready. Voices came from downstairs. Suddenly, Catherine sensed something was wrong. What is all that noise at this hour? She scolded the people downstairs. Amy, what is going on? Someone came from the tavern. Apparently, the young master is dead, drunk again. Again, Amy? Why does he always drink until he loses consciousness? Catherine said. Honestly, whatever happens, they should send a carriage to bring him back. Wait, that was a nightly investiture party, wasn't it? Catherine asked. Ah, yes, I think so. Amy said, My lady, you surely won't. Catherine suddenly revealed a strange expression. At this late hour, where do you think you're going? Amy stamped her feet. You should have known already. Catherine dashed out. Of course, Catherine thought, I was not worried about my drunken brother, but because I could see my beloved there. My sweetheart, my darling brother Ansel. Tell father I'll be home later, and Sir Morrill will escort me back. So tell him not to worry, she said, waving upstairs. Tajda, surprise. Catherine arrived at the party. Oh, isn't that Lady Catherine? Please come sit over here. People welcomed Catherine one after another. Ansel looked surprised. So far, sneaking into the drinking party had gone rather smoothly. The only mistake might have been drinking a bit too much. In any case, that day, I really did quite a few crazy things. I dragged a panicked brother Ansel out of the tavern, demanded why he would not be with me, clung to him and begged for just one kiss, and said a lot of nonsense. Of course, Ansel Morrill answered me with the typical Ansel-like reaction I knew so well. You're drunk. Go home. I'll take you. Facing the 3 blunt sentences he said with a stiff face, the drunken Catherine instead raised her pride. Enough. If you say we're going to marry, why can't we date first? To be honest, sometimes I wonder whether you actually like me, Catherine said. That's why I need some kind of commitment. I want to feel that we truly love each other. Catherine, Ansel hesitated for a moment. He slowly pressed a hand to his forehead. I have someone I like. What? His words nearly made Catherine lose her balance. The absurdity of that moment still made her tongue ache even now when she brought it up again. Not long before, when the two families had been discussing marriage, Ansel Morrill had clearly agreed readily. How had he suddenly changed his mind? Wait, what did you just say? Catherine asked loudly in disbelief. Marriage is not a problem. It is only because of that person. I hope you can understand. I may not be able to be gentle with you, Ansel said. What on earth are you talking about? Catherine shouted. I thought you liked me. I am sorry. Ansel's cold words came again. Are you serious? Then why did you propose to me? Catherine asked again. You know, love is not the only reason people marry, Ansel said. Then you should have said that outright instead of pretending to care, shouldn't you? Were you pitying me because I loved you for so long? Catherine fired off several questions in rapid succession. I truly thought that maybe you didn't love me as deeply as I loved you, but at least a little, Catherine said. Let's go. It's too cold. Ansel took Catherine's hand as he spoke. She flung Ansel's hand away. Get lost. I'll go by myself. In the end, the cold-hearted brother Ansel did not stop me. He simply left drunken me in the cold winter night. I had to admit that in his heart, I truly was only a close friend, a little sister, and nothing more. At that time, I had no choice but to face reality. Ansel Morrill had never loved me. I should have gone straight home then, just as Catherine was thinking this. What has you so deep in thought? Someone suddenly stepped forward and asked. You startled me, Catherine cried. Don't sneak up on me. I'm sorry, little sister, if I scared you, he said, scratching his head. I kept calling for you to come to the training ground, but you never came, so I was curious. You wanted to come see Ansel, didn't you? Alexander said, rubbing his chin. No, it's not like that, Catherine said. I don't want to see that bastard ever again, she thought furiously. You said all the knight's sisters came to cheer them on. I thought it was my turn, right? My words made Alexander's eyes shine. My Catherine has grown up. She even came to cheer for her brother. Your brother is so proud. He hugged Catherine and cried as he spoke. If only I had come here sincerely to support him, Catherine thought in distress. Regarding Sir Het, what kind of person is he? Catherine suddenly asked curiously. The Count had scolded him. He is a good person. What? Alexander stammered, trembling all over. As a potential romantic partner, Catherine asked again. Her words left Alexander stunned. What are you talking about? A romantic partner? Wait, how exactly do you know him? And why are you asking this? Is it because the answer is useless to you? Alexander kept asking. Alexander shook Catherine until she was nearly dizzy. I was wrong. I won't say that again, Alexander cried. Because Catherine thought, he is the father of the child in my womb. Amid Alexander's endless nagging, the carriage arrived at the imperial palace. Training had already begun at the Knight Order's training ground, where her brother got out first and took Catherine's hand. His grip was much stronger than usual. This is the first Knight Order training ground, Alexander introduced. Wow, it's huge, Catherine exclaimed. There is a rest area for visitors over there. Go there first. I'll come after changing clothes, Alexander said. Does Alexander Grint have training today? The voice that suddenly sounded behind them startled them both. Alexander quickly straightened up. Commander, good day. My younger sister wanted to watch training, so I brought her. When they turned around, Tiberius Het, whom they had not seen for 1 month and 1 week, was standing there. He was clearly speaking to Alexander, yet his gaze clung to Catherine without any attempt to hide it. Sensing this, Alexander immediately stepped in front of Catherine. I see. Then go change. I will attend to Miss Grint, Het said. No, Alexander's abruptly raised voice made Tiberius Het widen his eyes in surprise. My sister will be attended by me. Go change. But that is an order. My brother's broad back stiffened instantly. I secretly looked at Tiberius Het over his shoulder. His expression was so imposing it made one shiver. Even the boldest person would break into a cold sweat. My brother gave me a pitiful look, then slowly walked toward the corner of the training ground. Could a superior's order really make him abandon his beloved sister? Or was Tiberius Het simply too frightening? Miss Grint. Tiberius Het waited until my brother had walked far away before calling Catherine. He strode closer and looked down at me from above. Because he was so tall, I had to lift my head to see his face clearly. It has been a long time. Perhaps Catherine's calm response displeased him, because Tiberius Het's dark brown brows wriggled up and down like earthworms. May I speak with you for a moment? Het asked. Catherine answered, yes. Let's go somewhere else. 1 month earlier, a drunken Catherine had been slowly groping her way home. Where are you going? A voice caught Catherine's attention. You already sent the carriage away. That night, the person who finally stopped Catherine, Commander Het, Catherine called tentatively. It was not Ansel Morrill, but Tiberius Het. Were you not with Ansel Morrill? Het asked. On such a cold night, where on earth did he go, leaving you alone? Then he took off his coat, preparing to warm Catherine. Do not even mention Ansel Morrill. There is nothing between us anymore, Catherine said. Catherine's words surprised Het. What? He asked tentatively. Commander Het, Catherine asked. Do you want to sleep with me? Even if I was drunk at the time, I must have been completely out of my mind, Catherine recalled. I had never even kissed Ansel Morrill, and yet now I had kissed someone I knew almost nothing about. And that very night, the two of them became entangled together. You won't regret doing this. Het asked, if you change your mind, say so now. I'm not the sort of person who would do something we would both regret later. Het said, are you saying I'm not good enough? Catherine reproached him. No, I'm asking about you. Het began removing his clothes. Because I do not think I will regret tonight. Of course, it had indeed been good, but Catherine thought with a flushed face. Who could have imagined one night would make me pregnant? You came late. I thought I would not see you today. Het's voice interrupted Catherine's thoughts. You came. What is going on? Catherine was suddenly startled. Why are you in uniform? Tiberius Het handed me a seat at a table in the open-air garden, then went somewhere. When he returned, he set down a palm-sized box. What is this? Catherine asked. I thought it would suit you, so I bought it. I meant to give it to you sooner, but someone refused to meet me 3 times, he answered. Back then, I had no idea I was pregnant, Catherine thought. While taking note of the complaint hidden in his words about her refusing to meet him, Catherine carefully opened the box. Inside was an expensive brooch edged with gemstones. Catherine remembered this as the new winter item released by the capital's most famous accessory shop. Thank you. It is beautiful, Catherine said. I heard it was not easy to obtain. Does this mean he truly likes me? She thought. If that were true, things would go much more smoothly. I'm glad you like it, Het said mechanically. Then he asked, it is good that you like it. But what you wanted to say was, there are a few things I want to ask. Just in case, Commander Het, when do you intend to marry? The blunt question seemed to fluster even the invincible Tiberius Het. He stood frozen in place, blankly pondering my question. Why are you suddenly asking that? You are not young anymore. Have you not met anyone you favor? Or is your work with the Night Order keeping you too busy? If so, then there is nothing to worry about. Het spoke. I'm not the kind of man who dates with marriage as the premise and pressures the other party. Like you, miss, I'm a non-marriage advocate. I do not intend to marry. What? Did I ever say that? The way he shrugged and argued suddenly reminded me of our conversation that day. It must have been after that fierce quarrel, when I lay exhausted with my head on his arm and spoke nonsense offhand. And marriage? Were you not discussing marriage with Lord Morrill? I thought I heard you say something to Lord Morrill earlier, asking why you could not be together and wanting to date. Het asked, when did I ever say that? I do not know what you heard, but you must have heard wrong, Catherine said. I'm a non-marriage advocate. It is enough to enjoy the present. Being tied down is out of the question. I am so young and beautiful. Once marriage is mentioned, it becomes troublesome, and the feelings will collapse with it. Lord Morrill and I only argued because our values are different. I see. So Lord Morrill is eager to marry, while you only want to date? Het asked. Something like that. Even calling it dating is too ridiculous. What I pursue is a cool relationship like the one we have tonight. I absolutely did not come to you because of Lord Morrill. Do you understand? Catherine said, As expected, if she set aside her pride, Catherine Grint that day had been a fool. What she said to Tiberius Het that day had, of course, been lies. The one who wanted to bind the other was her. The one eager to marry was her. The one clamoring to date and meet was her. She had only made up those words because she did not want Het to see her clinging desperately to Ansel. It seemed Tiberius Het had believed her nonsense at the time. He probably thought their values aligned perfectly, seeking no restraints and only a physical relationship. So he sent his butler to invite me 3 times. Then date me, Het proposed. It is difficult to find someone as calm and straightforward as I am. Father, big brother. Catherine pressed her throbbing forehead. Tiberius Het looked at me and added, I believe I understand why you suddenly asked this. Miss, a man as cool and unrestrained as I am is not easy to find. If you're choosing someone to date, am I not the best candidate? What on earth should I do? Catherine thought. I will consider it seriously, she replied. A scream came from inside the room. Oh, take them away, Catherine said painfully. Oh dear, miss. Catherine barely made out the worried face of the maid. Amy looked at Catherine carefully, as if she were tending to an aquatic creature. At this moment, Catherine was nearly driven mad by the damned morning sickness. Although Dr. Fernando had instructed that she must eat, Amy had still carefully prepared a meal and brought it to my room. Yet she could not swallow even one bite. My lady, you have not eaten properly for several days, Amy said. You must eat something. I really can't eat. Take it away, Catherine said. Miss, you must force yourself to eat a little, Amy said worriedly. Catherine cried out in pain. I'm going to die. If I can't eat, you might as well kill me. But you cannot keep hiding it forever by pretending it is just the flu. And the child belongs to both of you, my lady. You should not be the only one enduring such pain, Amy said worriedly. Wouldn't it be a good idea to meet Lord Het one more time? Amy said again. Of course. Catherine herself had not failed to think about this question. Do you not need a child to carry on this wounded family name? Catherine asked. I do not need one. Frankly speaking, I was not born into a noble family with a long history. So what meaning would any of that have? She recalled Het's words again. He said he did not need marriage or children. Catherine cried. He said that right to my face. How could I possibly bring on my pregnancy? A noble woman pregnant before marriage would undoubtedly face harsh criticism. If the person involved happened to be the youngest daughter of an eminent count's family, then it would only be a matter of time before the entire empire turned it into gossip. Amy, what will become of my life? Catherine asked blankly. Amy looked down at me, wrapped in a blanket, and sighed softly. You should have been more careful. I was careful, all right, Catherine shouted. I was indeed a little drunk, but I was still completely conscious. You did everything properly. Aside from drinking Palgren tea, there is no contraceptive method that is 100% effective. Shut up. Catherine glared fiercely at Amy. Amy, why do you also look so serious? I have already been severely scolded by Sir Fernando. That's enough. As she spoke, she began pinching Amy's cheeks. Oh, that hurts. Amy begged for mercy. It is all because I acted impulsively like a beast that day that things have turned out like this. Catherine grinned. You cannot abandon your baseline as a human being any further, she thought. Just then, the young maid Jane's voice came from outside the door, accompanied by a gentle knock. My lady, Sir Morrel has come to visit. The two who had been fooling around froze instantly. Hearing that name, Catherine instinctively threw off the blanket and sat up. Even Amy widened her eyes in surprise. I told him you were unwell. He said he would come again later. What should we do? Catherine asked Jane to invite Ansel to wait in the drawing room first, then asked Amy to help her apply light makeup, so she would at least look like a living person. Although the smell of cosmetics made her want to vomit again, she endured it. She could not let Ansel see her looking like someone on the verge of death. Why did you come? Catherine asked. I could not reach you, so I was worried. I asked Alex, and he said you were sick, so I hurried over. You look very unwell. Are you all right? Ansel said. I should have thrown him out. Yet here I was, wearing makeup to welcome the man who had lied to me. Catherine thought, you really do look unwell. Are you feeling all right? Ansel asked again and again. Catherine listened absent-mindedly. Damn Ansel Morrel. He truly did not understand my feelings at all, she thought. You don't need to worry about me now, Catherine said, turning her head. What are you talking about? Catherine. Ansel hurriedly spoke, his face full of concern. About what happened that night, I am truly very sorry. You know you were wrong? Catherine asked. I am ashamed. But Kate, I promise you there is no problem with our marriage. I can swear it, Ansel said. Wait, what do you mean? You say you have someone you like, but you still want to marry me? And after marriage, you still want to continue seeing that person? Catherine said in shock. No, it is only my one-sided affection. After marriage, I will have no entanglement with that person, Ansel said. You are not dating? Catherine was startled. No, and I will work hard, he vowed. Right now, I only see you as a little sister, so it is difficult. But if I do my utmost from now on, the situation will surely change. Many nobles have someone in their hearts, and marriage is merely a dignified transaction between families. Couples who maintain their marriage like a business are also common. But I truly like Brother Ansel. I do not want to build that kind of marital relationship with him. So when he confessed that he had someone he liked, I thought our marriage would be canceled. Catherine thought, but now I was foolishly beginning to waver again. Brother Ansel said he would slowly sort out his feelings. If our relationship could develop from simply being like siblings, perhaps I could also enter his heart. But everything was too late. How did I keep forgetting that there was already a child in my belly? It was Tiberius Het's, not Brother Ansel's. Let's cancel the engagement. We will pretend nothing happened, Catherine said. Catherine, he called out in despair. Ansel hurriedly grabbed Catherine's hand. I was wrong. I am sorry. I will work hard. Catherine panicked. Why? Why are you acting like this? If the engagement is canceled, we will never be able to return to how we were before. Just thinking of that makes me very sad. Even if it is difficult now, I will work hard. Please do not give up, Ansel said. I know I still do not have that kind of romantic love, but if I must spend my life with someone, I've always thought that person would be you. Think about how long we have known each other. If it is not you, then who else could I marry? Please, Catherine, he pleaded. Ansel Morrel, who could have imagined the day he would beg me? Catherine thought, first calm down and let go of my hand. From now on, I will work hard, Ansel said, then leaned in to kiss her. What is this? Catherine was shocked. She shoved Ansel away. What exactly do you think you are doing? You said you needed my commitment. Ansel hesitated. This is not what I wanted, Catherine said through tears. Yes, I know it once was. But why now? She thought, I want to be sure that you love me. Did you really think I would be happy just because you forced a kiss on me? How disgusting, Catherine said. I will pretend this never happened, so get out. Immediately, she opened the door and said to Ansel, Tiberius Het, commander of the Imperial Knight Order of the Spelten Empire. The mere fact that he became commander of the Imperial Knight Order of the Spelten Empire at only 28 years old was enough to imagine how brilliant his achievements were. He passed the regularly held Knight entrance examination with the highest score, received the title of Knight, and joined the order. At 16, he was assigned to the First Knight Order, the elite among the 13 branches of the Knight Order, becoming the youngest member in that order's history. Later, in the campaign called the Spelten Military War, which was part of the Kingdom Annexation Plan, Tiberius Het, as a member of the First Knight Order, achieved outstanding military merit. He was then promoted to captain of the First Knight Order and won victory after victory in the Second and Third Spelten Military Wars. At that time, the land and wealth bestowed on him by Emperor Spelten Bas were worth as much as a small kingdom. Thus, this common-born man won wealth and power through his own efforts. His life could be called perfect, but his legend did not end there. In imperial year 1052, when Tiberius Het was 25, the Sixth Imperial War broke out between the Spelten and Ionic empires, the two great empires that had long struggled for supremacy on the continent of Galicia. In that long, back-and-forth war, the Spelten Empire was once on the verge of defeat. However, Tiberius Het, then captain of the First Knight Order, defied the withdrawal order of the commander of the Imperial Knight Order and adopted offensive tactics, turning the tide of battle. In the end, he forced the Ionic Empire to surrender and ended the Six Imperial Wars. In the Spelten Empire, known as the land of martial valor, was there anything more glorious than winning a war? Tiberius Het's promotion to commander of the Imperial Knight Order was only natural. A year later, at 26, he successfully reached a peace agreement. The Idol of Knights, the strongest warrior of the Spelten Empire, the incarnation of the mythical god of war worshipped by the people of the Spelten Empire. Dozens of honorific titles followed his name. Countless capable commoners took the entrance examination with the goal of becoming a second Tiberius Het. Even knights of noble birth held him in great respect. His training was extremely strict, and his subordinates suffered greatly. James Brown, who told you to abandon your stance? Het asked. Why, yes, sir. Lord Grint made a mistake, so we thought we should start over. Who made a mistake? Het asked. Alexander Grint did. Yes, I was very certain just now, James said. Sir Grint made no mistake. And finding mistakes is my job, Het scolded. Who gave you the authority to stop the exercise? Has everyone gone mad? I will correct myself, James said cautiously. Sir Grint, Het shouted. Commander, Alexander startled and answered. Yes? Would you mind speaking with me alone for a moment? Het said. His clearly defined features were somewhat rugged, but that was by no means a flaw. First place among men-women most wanted to marry. First place among men-women most wanted to have a flirtation with. First place among people others most wanted to know. Tiberius Het easily swept these three rankings and was a top man of the empire in name and reality. However, because of rumors that had long circulated within the First and Second Knight Orders, the knights' gazes toward this superior had become somewhat subtle. Finally, this day has come. Alexander, good luck. You can do it. People inside the Knight Order said one after another. Alexander followed Het with tears in his eyes. Tiberius Het brought Alexander to the corner of the training ground, pressing his lips together as if hesitating over how to begin. Alexander was terrified by this rare appearance from the commander. The scene of their first meeting appeared in his mind. When he first joined the order, he was assigned to the Second Knight Order. At that time, Tiberius Het, as captain of the First Knight Order, had no contact with him. This ill-fated relationship began after Tiberius was promoted to commander of the Imperial Knight Order and became responsible for overseeing the training of all 13 Knight Orders. You are Alexander Grint, the Grint civil official. How's Count Grint? Yes, Your Excellency. After that meeting, Alexander began a comfortable life in the Knight Order. The commander, rumored to be as strict as a fierce tiger during training, for some reason openly favored only him. As soon as he showed the slightest fatigue, the commander would notice like a ghost and permit him to rest. The training plan arranged for him was also especially lenient. Even for mistakes like today's, he had never been scolded. Among the knights of the Spelten Empire, where Magargos was regarded as the highest honor. Even being promoted to the First Night Order did not make Alexander feel the least bit happy about the commander's excessive care. After long speculation, the Knights of the First and Second Night Orders finally reached one conclusion, though they were unwilling to believe it. Their commander seemed to have a special sexual orientation, and the target was Alexander Grint of the First Night Order. This conjecture was quite reasonable. During the period when the commander was considered the Empire's best marriage prospect, he had never had any scandal with the many women in the capital who admired him. Even after occasional gatherings, when other knights left with tavern women in their arms, the commander would always go home as strictly as a blade. As the person involved, Alexander was fully aware of the rumors surrounding him and the commander. Amid this continuous favoritism, he even morbidly confirmed in his heart that the commander was a homosexual secretly in love with him. At this moment, seeing the commander stammering, Alexander almost jumped up to stop him from speaking. If the commander said something like, "I like you," or "date me," he would resign on the spot and leave. Just as Het was about to speak, Alexander suddenly shouted, "Commander, my younger sister is ill today. May I finish training early and go see her?" These words instantly caught his attention. "What? She is ill?" The commander's voice suddenly rose, startling Alexander. "Yes, father is busy with work and cannot take care of her, so I am worried about leaving her alone," he said. "Oh heavens, we cannot leave a sick person alone." No. Het thought for a moment. "Mr. Grint, you may leave early today." "Thank you, Commander," Alexander said. "Then I will take my leave now." "Alexander, also, after training ends today, I would like to visit your home," Het said. Those words shocked Alexander. "It has been more than a month since your promotion, and I have not had the chance to show concern. I feel guilty. I should personally go thank Count Grint for raising his precious son into a warrior of the Empire." "No, you need not go out of your way. This is also the duty of the commander of the Imperial Night Order. It is decided." "No, Commander." Leaving those words behind, the commander strode back toward the training ground where training was underway. Alexander looked at his back and smiled bitterly. What was this supposed to be? Was he going directly to meet the parents and discuss marriage? Imagining the commander kneeling before his father and begging, "Please give me your son," sent a chill up Alexander's back. Dr. Fernando said fresh air helped relieve morning sickness, so Amy insisted on dragging the heavy-bodied me out for a walk. I had wanted to go to the home of my only friend, Casey, to pour out this frustrating situation. Perhaps I would feel better. Must we go to Miss Casey's house? We could also take a walk outside the city where the air is good, Amy said. Catherine asked, "Why do you dislike Casey so much?" "It is not that I dislike her. I just feel she is hard to read." Amy combed Catherine's hair as she spoke. "Still, you have not seen her in some time." Catherine said, "Wouldn't you be happy to see her? You have known each other for a long time." Amy was saying the same thing again. Amy, who had come to Catherine's home at the age of 12, had spent so much time with Catherine and Casey, yet only toward Casey had she always remained stiff. When asked the reason, she always said she could not read Casey's thoughts. Catherine had no conflict with Casey's mother, Mrs. Merrill, the housekeeper. Amy and Mrs. Merrill's relationship was also fairly harmonious. "It has been a long time. Remember to manage your expression properly." Catherine was just reminding Amy when Amy suddenly shrieked as if she had seen a ghost. I instinctively followed her gaze and looked back. Heavens, was this a dream? The person appearing in the second-floor corridor of my house right now really was Tiberius Het. That was right. He stood before Catherine, lowering his head and staring at her. In 22 years, she had never been this shocked. Her heartbeat was so loud it felt as if it would burst out of her chest. I reflexively covered my lower abdomen. This was not a joke. Catherine was truly worried the child might be frightened out of her. Tiberius Het was startled by her sudden scream. Then he gave a roguish smile and said, "Are you pregnant?" Her heart pounded wildly. How'd he know? Just as that foolish thought flashed through her mind, Catherine saw the faint arc at the corner of his mouth and finally realized he was joking about the phrase, nearly miscarried from shock. P. pregnant? Saying such a thing to an unmarried young lady is far too rude. Having been frightened out of her wits twice in a row, Catherine instantly burst into anger and swung her fist hard at Tiberius Het's chest. The air froze instantly. No matter how panicked she was, she should not have casually hit a strange man's chest. Catherine thought, "Go die, Catherine Grint." Amid the awkward silence and Tiberius Het's dazed expression, I shamefully tried to withdraw my fist, only for him to gently catch it. He did not fling Catherine's hand away. Instead, he gently opened her clenched fist and softly stroked her palm with his thumb. That strange sensation left Catherine stunned. The face before her, once as fierce as a street thug's, now deliberately wore an unbelievably gentle smile, making Catherine unable to look away for a moment. Behind her came Amy's soft gasp. Heavens! It took Catherine a very long time to understand why Tiberius Het had suddenly appeared in her home's garden. A commander of the Imperial Knight Order had personally visited the home of a subordinate knight. My brother actually believed you when you said you came to comfort a subordinate? Catherine said in disbelief. Why would I not believe it? Het said, you are hopeless. We are not that close. Or do you want to spread our affair all over the neighborhood? Do you have a grudge against me? Catherine said, do I look like a stalker? No one will suspect anything, Het replied. Tiberius Het looked completely composed. But since earlier, I had noticed that this man, for some reason, kept showing expressions I had never seen before. He was clearly smiling ferociously, yet insisted on pretending to be gentle. Evidently, he had lost his mind. His intention in making an excuse to come to my house was obvious. It was nothing more than wanting to continue that damned partner-like relationship, Catherine thought. It was merely one night of absurdity. Why cling like this? If I were not pregnant, I should have coldly slapped him, cursed, "Get lost, you pervert," and left without looking back. But the current situation forced my hand, so I could only temporarily restrain my temper. Sir Het, Catherine called. You came to see me today? Should I understand that as your desire to maintain that convenient relationship? Catherine asked. Het was silent for a moment. Yes, he said. Then for now, let us continue meeting, Catherine said. For the child. At least the child should have a father. Really? Het said, but there is something I am curious about. What is it? He asked. If this sort of cool relationship of ours continues, although you say you are a non-marriage advocate, will you perhaps want to marry someday? Is it truly impossible that one day you might want to marry or do something similar? After Catherine stammered through her question, Tiberius Het stopped walking again and stared fixedly at her. Since he was a non-marriage advocate, he must hate talking about marriage. But what should I do? Catherine thought. Forget it. Who cares? Please imagine a cute baby. Oh, how adorable. Chubby cheeks, plump little lips. The hands and feet would surely be long and elegant like yours. Heavens, even the crying would be lovable. You would never get tired of looking at the baby all day. If there were a cute baby in the world who looked exactly like you, you would definitely want a child someday, right? To persuade Tiberius Het, Catherine used every trick she had, secretly hoping he would be moved. Tiberius Het remained silent for a long time, as if pondering Catherine's words. That ambiguous, pitying expression of his made Catherine feel that half her hopes had fallen through. Sigh. After a long silence, he sighed deeply and continued walking. There's no need to worry about such things. Marriage or children, having you is enough. His words left Catherine stunned. As expected of the scum of the century. Catherine nearly turned to stone. Wasn't that plainly saying, I only need your body? Het said, do not make such boring jokes. They only depress me. I was only asking. Why are you depressed? Catherine muttered. Enough. Will you still meet Ansel Morrill after this? He asked again. I don't think I will see him again, Catherine said. You like a man like Morrill just because he has a pretty face? Tiberius Het wiped his face with one large hand and asked sourly. Ansel is handsome, but that is not why I liked him. Then why? Het asked again. Do you have to ask in such detail? But for the child's sake, I decided to answer patiently. If there were no child, I really would. Catherine thought again. She began to tell the story. When I was 12, I almost had an accident. At that time, it seemed to be during the Second Spelten Military War. A group of slaves brought from the kingdom escaped. They planned to flee elsewhere around the capital's festival. I know, Het said. Right. Of course you would know, Mr. Het. You were deployed then, weren't you? Catherine prompted him. Then she continued. I was outside the city and accidentally fell into a ditch, and by chance they kidnapped me. They needed money. A little girl in fine clothes naturally became their target. I think I was locked up for about a week in a tavern basement or somewhere like that. I only found out later that they probably thought I was a noble they could not afford to offend and were conflicted over whether they should simply kill me. At that time, 2 or 3 royal knights came. I did not know how they obtained the information, but they came to capture the slaves. I was lucky and was rescued. I was so frightened then that my eyes were swollen from crying. I was out of my senses. One of them held me and said everything would be all right. I did not even see clearly what my savior looked like. I only remember that he was injured while holding me and fighting. A long sword pierced straight through his right shoulder. He must have been injured in battle while protecting me. That was, Het said. Yes. Only later did I learn that person was Ansel, Catherine said shyly. Was that really Ansel Morrill? are you sure you remember correctly? Het raised his voice and asked, with such a serious injury, there must be a scar, right? Does Ansel Morrill have a scar on his right shoulder? Het asked. His question made Catherine feel baffled. I suppose so, she said. I do not know. It is not as if I have seen Ansel naked. Tiberius Het suddenly grew excited and raised his voice. Hearing my answer that I had never seen Ansel naked, he first cleared his throat, then gave a wicked smile. This madman was definitely obsessive. Have you seen my naked body first? Hey, are you really a pervert? Shame surged up. Catherine pounded his shoulders wildly with both fists. Though Catherine was venting her anger, Tiberius Het laughed so hard he bent back and forth, as if being hit were the greatest pleasure in the world. After Catherine had swung her arms for a long while, Tiberius Het caught them again. He gently gripped Catherine's wrists and, as before, brushed the inner skin with his fingertips. Over the already strange atmosphere, another layer of goosebump-inducing awkwardness floated up. What had gotten into this guy? Why'd he been acting like this since earlier? Catherine thought. His fingertips unsettled her mind, while his face wore a smile that did not match his fierce appearance at all. Why do you keep touching me? Catherine stammered. Perhaps Tiberius Het was not the only one with a problem. He was not using much strength. Catherine could easily have pulled free, but for some reason, she greedily lingered in that ambiguous touch. Because I want to touch you. Because I want to come into contact with you, Het said. Whenever I see you, I get excited. 1. What madness was this man caught in? Catherine often had the same dream. Rough wooden barrels covered with mold stains were stacked crookedly. From time to time, rats scurried past at terrifying speed, making hair-raising sounds. Each time a creak came from upstairs, cracks opened in the fragile wooden ceiling and dust rained down. The damp, unventilated air made it hard to breathe. Aside from once a day, when a vicious-looking man threw in hard breadcrumbs, there was never any light in that gloomy space. I would rather not see the light, only hoping they would not come. They looked down at me as I picked up breadcrumbs like a beggar and spoke in a language I could not understand. I was always afraid of when they would kill me, but the day I last saw the light was different. A knight whose face was blurred picked up the trembling me and soothed me in a somewhat hoarse voice. Don't be afraid. It's all right. I will take you home safely. Close your eyes. Just count to 100. Catherine clung tightly to his neck as if grabbing a life-saving straw. When she had only counted halfway, she glimpsed the blue sky through the narrow slit of her eyes. Even when a long sword pierced his shoulder, he still held the curled-up Catherine tightly and whispered for her to close her eyes. Warm blood soaked the edge of her skirt. That fishy, sweet sensation was vivid every time entered her dreams. Catherine cried and shouted, "Don't die." "I will not die," the man said, stroking her head. "I have nothing to repay you with. In the future, I will marry you," Catherine said firmly. The atmosphere of the dream had been good before, but of all places, it had to go wrong here. 12-year-old Catherine Grint clearly knew she came from a prestigious family, yet she treated marrying her savior as an expression of gratitude and even felt pleased with herself for it. This was all Father's fault, he always murmured. What lucky man will get to marry our family's princess? Because of that absurd nonsense, Catherine had naturally thought from childhood, the man who marries me must be very lucky. Although the face of the knight who saved her life was blurred in her memory, his expression was extremely clear. If it had been me, I would have been angry at someone joking about a life-saving death. Yet he revealed a heart-tremblingly gentle smile and nodded. "All right, I will wait for you," the man said. "Yes, you said you would wait, Ansel Morrill." I woke up shouting the name of the irresponsible Ansel who had stood me up. Before my eyes was a shocked Casey. "You dreamed of Brother Ansel?" Casey set down the tea tray and sat beside Catherine's pillow. Catherine sprawled on the sofa like a sloth, whimpered, buried her head in Casey's lap, and looked up at her worried face. Right. After laying her cards on the table with Tiberius Het, Catherine had driven a carriage to Casey's house as planned. She had wanted to say so much, but lately, whenever she met someone, she became sleepy. As soon as she arrived, she fell asleep with her limbs spread out. She must have been dreaming. "Catherine, your complexion is terrible," Casey said soothingly. "I am pregnant." Watching Casey stroke her hair with a pitying expression, all the accumulated stress instantly vanished like smoke. As expected, this was my refuge, Catherine thought. Casey was one of the few people I could trust unconditionally. As the daughter of Mrs. Merrill, who had served House Count Grint as housekeeper for more than 20 years, she had accompanied Catherine since childhood. Rather than a friend, she was more like family. Whether it was their childhood playing with dolls, or the days when at 12 years old, they formed the Ansel Moral Support Club together and ran after him. They had always been inseparable. When Mrs. Merrill joined the Countess's household staff, she was already pregnant. Father pitied her for having to raise a child alone, so he gave her a job and also gave her a small house in the capital. Thus, this friend who had accompanied Catherine since birth had been with her for more than 20 years now. Casey, Catherine asked, have you ever thought about your father? Her question made the faint smile on Casey's face sink. How should I put it? I do not know what my father looks like at all, so I do not think I've thought about him much. So if you do not even know what he looks like, you do not miss him, right? Catherine asked again. I do not miss him, Casey replied. You do not miss him, Catherine repeated. Casey gently stroked Catherine's hair, the corners of her mouth lifting into a faint smile. For some reason, looking at that smile, Catherine suddenly felt a chill. It was not her usual infinitely gentle smile. But I hate him so much that if I could, I would definitely take revenge on him. Catherine seemed to be thinking about something. I've always watched how hard Mother worked, Casey continued, and Father clearly knew of my existence. He knew Mother raised me through so much hardship. Catherine asked, this is the first time I have heard that you know who your father is. I do not know who he is, Casey replied, but my mother must know. I can never forgive that coward who knew everything and still abandoned us. Catherine finally understood why Casey's expression had felt so strange. Casey, who was always gentle and rarely angry, was now showing extreme fury toward a father she had never even met. The Casey she knew would never speak in that tone, nor had she ever worn such an expression. Don't be angry. You still have me, Catherine said. She had only been curious about what it felt like to have no father, but she had accidentally made Casey feel worse. Catherine was a little worried. She sat up and comforted her in a light tone. Hearing that, Casey weakly curled the corners of her mouth. By the way, why did you suddenly ask that? Casey asked. Nothing. I was just suddenly curious. Catherine was flustered. She could not exactly say, because I may be about to give birth to a child without a father. Right? How have you and Brother Ansel been lately? I'm dying of curiosity. Tell me quickly. Casey picked up a cookie, fed it into Catherine's mouth, and pressed her for an answer. To be honest, Catherine was sick of it. Why had the conversation circled back to Ansel Moral again? Though she did not want to shift the blame, thinking carefully, he truly was the root of everything. Let him be struck by lightning. I don't plan to marry Ansel anymore, Catherine said while chewing the cookie. What? Casey's face sank in surprise. You don't plan to marry Brother Ansel? What? No reason, Catherine said. What nonsense are you saying? Do you have someone you like? Casey pressed. No, Brother Ansel doesn't like me. Seeing Catherine's gloomy expression, Casey was shocked and grabbed her hand. No, Catherine, you know Brother Ansel's personality. He only keeps his distance from you because he's shy. You absolutely must not think about not marrying him. Do you hear me? She had no idea how I had been treated by Ansel, yet she was stopping me for no reason. That made me very unhappy. Catherine said, he just doesn't like me. I heard he has someone he likes. I won't like him anymore either. Catherine, her pride wounded, blurted out the truth. Casey's face instantly twisted fiercely. Today, Catherine had truly seen too many expressions Casey had never shown before. He said that. Catherine said stubbornly. Yes, I'll tell you exactly what he said. He told me I should proceed with the engagement ceremony as planned, but stop discussing romantic matters with him. Catherine pressed her lips together. Because he already has someone he likes. Just thinking of it again made Catherine burn with rage. That's too much, Casey said. I'm fiend. Whatever. There are plenty of men in the world anyway, Catherine said. Casey was furious, as if she herself had been wronged. She bit her lower lip tightly, her chin trembling slightly. Looking at her, Catherine felt both unfamiliar fear and some gratitude. Who else in the world would be angry over my affairs, as if they were her own? But then Casey patted Catherine's shoulder. Catherine, don't make an impulsive decision. How many years have you liked Brother Ansel? Can feelings like that be abandoned just because you say so? Men are all foolish for a moment. Only you are worthy of Brother Ansel. Calm down and hold on. Catherine was shocked. No, what twisted logic is that? How am I supposed to? I'm also a little disappointed. You liked Brother Ansel for 10 years. Are you just going to let it end like this? And that day, if it hadn't been for Brother Ansel, what would have happened to you? Casey comforted her. I know. Catherine, enough. I won't persuade you to give up Brother Ansel. Casey's firmness left Catherine only half understanding. After all, Casey had witnessed Catherine and Ansel's more than 10 years of feelings. She sincerely hoped they would have a good ending. Perhaps that was simply her stance. When I see Brother Ansel later, I'll definitely teach him a proper lesson. Don't worry, all right. Casey suddenly put away her anger and gently stroked Catherine's cheek. Catherine leaned into her warm palm and smiled awkwardly. I'm sorry, Casey, Catherine thought. Probably because of the child of that strange man in my stomach, my 10 years of feelings with Ansel really are going to end. I have never given birth, so I cannot be sure, but babies might look exactly like their fathers. Catherine thought, just like that hateful man, this baby is tormenting me endlessly inside my stomach. Every bite of food she swallowed came back up. Within a few days, she had become thin enough to be skin and bones. She had even developed constipation, making it difficult to go to the bathroom. She felt weak all day and was constantly drowsy, barely able to leave the bed. She might as well be killed. Dr. Fernando, how long do I have to remain half dead like this? Don't tell me I have to keep vomiting until childbirth, Catherine asked. Probably not. However, Fernando said, you may need to endure it for over another month. It varies from person to person. Some pregnant women suffer morning sickness until delivery. His words struck Catherine like a bolt from the blue. What? It has only been 1 week, and I'm already about to die. How is that possible? My lady, calm down. Getting angry is bad for prenatal care. As I said before, maintain a calm state of mind, drink plenty of water, don't be picky with food, stay warm, and breathe fresh air often, Fernando hurriedly said. Enough. My ears are about to fall off. Amy will take good care of me. Please don't worry, Catherine said. Madam, you should start getting ready. If you feel too unwell, should I say you won't be going today? Amy asked. Madam, are you going somewhere today? Fernando asked after hearing this. No, today is the regular gathering of the Royal First Night Order, Amy said with shining eyes. And it's actually being held at our home. Father said he would host the nights at home to celebrate brother's promotion. This absurd arrangement was the result of Tiberius Het coming to the Grint residence a few days ago and discussing it with Father. Honestly, it was too forced. Dozens of knights were promoted every day. What reason was there to invite the knights to one's home in the middle of the night? I advised Father not to exaggerate, but he was excited over Brother Alex being promoted to the First Night Order and would not listen to me at all. On top of that, Tiberius Het personally visited and praised Brother Alex to the skies. Catherine thought, and so today, the day of the First Night Order's regular gathering. Our home has been busy since early morning. I absolutely cannot miss it. If I miss an event held in my own house, they will definitely begin asking about the reason. Catherine said with a headache, then help me get ready right away. Amy said, why are you so excited? Catherine asked, of course I'm excited. Lord Het is coming today, Amy said with a laugh. What does that have to do with you being excited? Catherine asked, Dr. Fernando, you should have seen Lord Het when he came over a few days ago. My goodness, the way he looked at our young lady was practically dripping with honey. What romantic novel is this girl imagining now? It was clearly a perverted, sinister intention dripping down. Drip, drip, dripping. Really, Fernando did not disappoint Amy either. Actually, that was the first time I saw Lord Het with my own eyes. I had only heard before that he looked like a vicious bandit, but he was completely different. Amy continued, he's super masculine, super refreshing. So refreshing he could kill. Just meeting his eyes made my hair stand on end, Catherine said speechlessly. I think he's 10,000 times better than Lord Morrill. To be honest, Lord Morrill is too handsome, and that actually feels pressuring. Amy continued, how should I put it? He feels as if he has no bones. At night, he probably doesn't have much strength either. What did you say? You really have no filter. Come here and see if I don't hit you. Ouch, my lady. The two tangled together. While being hit by Catherine, Amy kept happily chattering. Look at Lord Het. With a face like that, you can tell he must be very capable, right? My lady, what nonsense are you saying? Have you gone mad, you girl? Catherine smiled awkwardly and secretly glanced at Dr. Fernando, who was taking out a handkerchief to wipe his forehead. Although Amy and the doctor were as close as family, this was still far too embarrassing. By the way, when does my lady plan to tell the Count? Fernando asked. His words startled Catherine. When I saw him in the drawing room earlier, he asked about your health. I nearly went mad, trying to muddle through. He has never worried so much about you over merely catching a bad cold. Although he had brought it up to cover the awkwardness, thinking carefully carefully, this was indeed a worrying topic. There was still some time before her pregnancy would show. She could take it slowly. You cannot hide it forever. Before Fernando could finish, Amy cut in first. My lady, shouldn't you tell Lord Het first? Huh? Amy, what did you say? My lady, have you still not told Lord Het the truth? Fernando was shocked. The pressure was here again. It's not that I haven't told him. I just haven't found the chance. What kind of... Dr. Fernando abruptly stood. Catherine raised her left hand toward him and made a gesture telling him not to continue. He obediently sat back down, but still panted with anger. How absurd would it be to suddenly say to someone who neither wanted marriage nor children, I'm carrying your child, so please give up your life plans and marry me. In the end, I was also the one who provoked him that day, Catherine thought. Although Tiberius Het, who advocates never marrying, is hateful, I cannot simply blame him and throw a tantrum. So, I need to change strategies. Like clothes gradually dampened by a drizzle, I have to naturally instill in Tiberius Het the importance of family and the necessity of children. I'm already under enormous stress because of the child in my stomach, and now I have to devote effort to this too. It wouldn't be strange if my hair suddenly fell out. My lady, you're only afraid. Once you say it, it really won't be a big deal, Amy said. Lord Het might even be happy about it. Today, with a dress I recommended yesterday, and put this over it when you go out. Ignoring Catherine's rhythm completely, Amy excitedly took from the dressing table drawer the brooch Tiberius Het had given her. How peaceful. Far too peaceful. Someone was worrying so much she felt the world was about to collapse. Yet Amy was still fussing around pointlessly. When pale blonde hair was edged with gold by sunlight, Ansel Morrill always felt a dizzy, mysterious illusion. His lover, Casey Bennington, possessed precisely the kind of beauty that could topple a city. She had been weak since childhood, and that fragility made her seem even more pitiful, driving Ansel almost mad with obsession. When had it begun? Once upon a time, the little girl who had run behind him and Catherine had somehow occupied his heart in a single moment. Brother. Hearing the door open, Casey Bennington, who was already by the window, showed a faint smile and beckoned to Ansel. As if bewitched, he approached her and knelt on one knee. Casey had long grown used to the way he knelt before her, without hesitation. The smile remained on her face. Casey gazed at Ansel's infatuated, dazed blue eyes and gently stroked his cheek. Before her hand could pull away, Ansel hurriedly caught it. Catherine came yesterday, Casey said with a cold smile. She said she doesn't want to marry you anymore. See, Catherine, don't worry, I will. I will talk to her properly again. We will definitely marry according to plan. I promise. Don't worry, Ansel hurriedly said. I'm not saying this out of sympathy. It's because foolish Catherine still thinks you're good. She once loved you blindly, even without any response. Actually, you never needed to deceive her. She had already given you a chance. Yet you shook her with words like having someone you like. The angelic smile vanished without a trace from Casey's face. In its place was a sharp fury. Her tightly clenched teeth trembled slightly. It was by no means a beautiful expression, yet Ansel found it dangerous and alluring. I believe you said you would definitely make the marriage happen, Casey said. Yes, Casey, believe me. We will definitely, Ansel said. Casey said, she said she doesn't want to marry you. She said she won't like you anymore. This is the first time in 10 years she has said anything like that. Do you know how many years of effort I spent for her happiness? Do you know? Casey, Ansel murmured. Listen carefully. I will not give you a second chance. The furious Casey suddenly raised a gentle smile again, slowly bent her knees to meet Ansel's eyes, and placed a brief kiss on his lips. She continued, What I love is Catherine Grintzman, not Ansel Morrill. Don't expect my understanding anymore, darling. A cold sentiment fell from the slightly upturned corners of her eyes. This party, celebrating Brother Alex's promotion under the name of the Night Order's regular gathering, was held in the annex of Catherine's home. The annex, which had not been used in a long time, had been polished until it shone since morning. In the spacious annex, large enough to contain the Night Order training ground, more than a dozen tables were arranged, and dozens of knights from the First Night Order took their seats. I don't know why the knights' gathering had to be held at our house from the very beginning, Catherine thought. In the noisy atmosphere of the annex, there were more than one or two awkward things. Even if one put aside Father and Brother Alex, sitting at the enormous round table, for a Night Order gathering full of burly knights gathered together. Father had invited an indoor chamber ensemble more suited to a noble women's social event. What kind of aesthetic was this? Under the light of the luxurious crystal lamps, melodious music flowed, paired with a group of warriors so burly they felt suffocating. The combination was simply bizarre. Even more absurdly, since this was a regular gathering, everyone was actually wearing tight night uniforms. Was this really what a gathering should look like? If Mother were still alive, how would she have stopped this awkward disharmony? Catherine thought. Ansel and Tiberius Het. Was this ridiculous seating arrangement intentional? Actually, this should have been something I worried about. But lately I have been dazed and unwell with no energy to care about it. In the end, why did the Night Order's regular gathering have to be held at our house of all places? Catherine thought. Father was probably in high spirits. Before the tables were even full, he began to toast Tiberius Het and boast about his son. I knew from the time he held a sword at 6 years old that he would become a knight. I knew he was no ordinary noble child. Yes, when Lord Grint was still in the Second Night Order, I paid special attention to him and thought he was a rare talent. Unexpectedly, Tiberius Het was unusually cooperative and echoed Father's words. Rather than truly thinking Brother Alex was a talent, it seemed more like, for some reason, he very much wanted to perform well in front of Father. Oh, is that so? Haha, my son really is capable. He takes after me. Since childhood, there was nothing he couldn't do, Father continued. Father, please stop. I was embarrassed on his behalf. Father had completely failed to notice Brother Alex's flushed face and Brother Ansel's awkward smile. But honestly, it would be fine if only Brother Alex felt embarrassed, Catherine thought. Please, whatever you do, don't shift the topic onto me. And Lord Het, I cannot avoid mentioning our family's princess either. Father, I beg you. As expected, I could not escape. I had always hoped for a daughter, so you have no idea how happy I was when she was born. When she had only just learned to babble and looked at me for the first time and called me Papa, that excitement. People who haven't experienced it wouldn't understand, Father said with emotion. Ha, she must have been adorable, Het said naturally. This opening to a long bow stretching back 22 years gave me a splitting headache. Worse still, he was now telling embarrassing stories about my babyhood in front of a man who neither wanted marriage nor children. She's still adorable now, isn't she? She completely takes after my wife. Snow white skin, big bright eyes. Look at her. Father's next words startled Catherine. How can she be so beautiful? Father, Catherine said with an awkward smile. Yes, even in the capital, I have never seen a girl as beautiful as Miss Grint, Het said. What on earth is he saying? Catherine thought. I must have been blushing like a ripe apple. Without touching them, I knew my cheeks were burning. Faced with Father's extravagant praise, Tiberius Het looked at Catherine's face, the corner of his mouth curving into a faint smile like fine snow. When their eyes met, Catherine awkwardly lowered her head. I can hardly bear to marry off my daughter. I wish I could keep her by my side for life. Fortunately, she has always liked Ansel so much. Father sighed, sounding a little regretful. This was no longer just a hint, was it? Why was he choosing only sensitive points as topics? Catherine thought. Father, what on earth are you saying? Catherine said. Actually, Ansel is practically like a son to me, so I'm not worried, but as a father, Father kept rambling. Our Lord Morrill and Miss Grint lovers. Het suddenly said. I thought Miss Grint had someone else in her heart. Tiberius Het propped his chin on both hands. He slowly looked toward Catherine. As expected, this was clearly Tiberius Het's strategy to test Catherine. Had he not always emphasized maintaining a calm partnership? Yet secretly, he cared about Catherine and Ansel's relationship. That, Catherine stammered. In an instant, Father and Brother Alex, who smiled so widely their mouths could hardly close, as well as Ansel with his subtle expression, all focused their gazes on Catherine. What kind of answer did Tiberius Het want to hear? Since we agreed to be partners, does he want me to say in front of Father and Brother Alex that the person in my heart is you? Catherine thought. When he came to the house before and again questioned me about Ansel, I had wanted to snap back. What does it have to do with you, who I date? But I had restrained myself. In any case, I had already intended to sort out my relationship with Ansel, and I also wanted to maintain as harmonious a relationship as possible with Tiberius. I still think so now. I need to say something Tiberius wants to hear as much as possible. Just as Catherine was considering how to answer, Ansel spoke first. Commander, you may have listened to rumors. Kate and I are indeed lovers. You're dating with marriage in mind. Then, Tiberius Het stared at Ansel with icy eyes. If it had been me, I would probably have been frightened out of my wits by that look. But Ansel, as if used to it, met his gaze calmly with a faint smile. A subtle atmosphere spread across the dining table. The gazes of Tiberius Het and Ansel seemed as if they could spark. I see. Unexpectedly, the first to look away was Tiberius Het. He glanced at Catherine with an unreadable expression and said nothing more. Why did I do that at the time? Clearly, if I had only remained silent, things could have passed along with the flow. Catherine thought, why, at that moment, did I feel sorry toward Tiberius Het? Brother Ansel, those are childhood matters. How long are you going to keep talking about them? Catherine's clumsy attempt to smooth things over instantly froze the atmosphere. Father and Brother Alex both knew that Catherine had been infatuated with Brother Ansel until very recently. Everyone smiled as they looked at her. Various gazes crossed over the dining table. Ansel's hollow eyes, as if condemning her. Father and Brother Alex's shocked gazes, adding fuel to this awkward situation, and the secret meeting of glances between me and Tiberius Het. This fruit is really fresh. Try some. To break the awkwardness, Catherine pointed at the salad served as an appetizer and changed the subject. It was a fruit salad drizzled with yogurt dressing. She speared a piece of orange and stuffed it into her mouth. The sweet and sour flesh burst in her mouth and unexpectedly stirred an appetite she had not felt for a long time. Strange. When my morning sickness was severe before, I could barely eat anything, Catherine thought. This unexpected appetite made me a little happy. Usually, I do not even like sour fruits like oranges, let alone before the morning sickness. Is it good? Probably startled by the way Catherine was attacking the salad like a starving wolf, Brother Alex, sitting beside her, asked with an awkward smile. When she looked carefully, half the crystal bowl of salad was already empty. Only cherry radishes and lettuce remained in the bowl. The oranges had been picked clean. You usually don't like sour things. Looks like this suits your taste this time, Father said with a smile while pouring wine. Somewhat embarrassed, I set down my fork, only to see Tiberius Het across from me, holding back an amused smile as he pushed the salad bowl in front of him toward me. You look as if you're eating it very happily. Like a cute little rabbit, he suddenly said. That was too rude of me, Het suddenly said. No, not at all, Catherine said, declining. I could only respond with an awkward smile that anyone could see through. Father looked at me and Tiberius, his eyes clearly suspecting that there was something subtle between us. No way. I finally managed to change the topic. And now he was at it again, Catherine thought. I do not know why things like this have been happening since earlier. I truly hoped he would know when to stop. But Tiberius Het seemed not to understand what stop meant. He persistently watched me eat and added in a satisfied tone, "The brooch is beautiful. As expected, it suits you very well, miss." He pointed at the brooch pinned to my shawl. The moment he said this, the dining table fell into another awkward silence. This was practically openly declaring that there was something between us. My mind instantly went blank. Father coughed dryly, while secretly glancing at Brother Ansel's expression. Brother Alex openly looked back and forth between me and Tiberius. Brother Ansel seemed to be thinking about something. I no longer want to think about anything now. Whatever happens, happens. Thank you, Lord Het. I'll wear it often, Catherine said. Fine. In any case, I should have clarified my relationship with Ansel to begin with. Sooner or later, I also had to tell Father and Brother Alex about the pregnancy. Just as Catherine relaxed her heart, the next obstacle arrived. The servants entering with the main course carried a strong and familiar smell. If this had been Catherine Grint before pregnancy, she would definitely have clapped happily at this smell and picked up her knife and fork. "My lady, I'll set down your plate," the servant said. It was mackerel steak. This was absolutely the smell of mackerel steak. Damn it, the child in my stomach seemed terrified. "Mother, I hate mackerel steak." That cry, as if coming from inside her belly, instantly turned into nausea. Everyone at the dining table looked at Catherine in shock. The three men all looked at her in unison with the same expression, mouths open and eyes wide, probably guessing the reason for her sudden retching. Ugh, that damn child seemed to be shouting, "No way, mother!" Her stomach churned violently. She only wanted to get away from the damned mackerel steak before her at once. Without thinking, she covered her mouth and rose from her seat. Creak! The sound of my chair being dragged rang out. I saw Tiberius Het also stand up, his face full of concern. Father anxiously grabbed Tiberius Het's arm and pulled him up. Tiberius Het stood without knowing why. Father nodded slightly toward Brother Ansel, who was seated behind. "Ansel, can you help me go check on Catherine?" "Yes." Ansel answered. Catherine covered her mouth and bent over. Through her blurred vision, she saw Tiberius Het kneel on one knee and meet her eyes. His eyes were full of concern, for some reason, that made Catherine's panicked heart settle slightly. Ansel personally helped Catherine to her room and laid her on the bed, but he did not leave. He sat down by the bed with a look as if he had something to say. Are you all right? Where exactly does it hurt? How's it hurt? Ansel asked. I'm fine now, Catherine said, turning her head away. Look at me, all right? Catherine lay on the bed, deliberately gazing into empty air. Ansel's pale face suddenly entered her sight. He was definitely about to bring up those suspicious things at the dining table. So I deliberately pretended to be suffering and delirious, my eyes unfocused. Catherine, didn't I tell you before? I will work hard. Stop being angry, all right? Even as a joke, it hurts me when you say things like that. Ansel said, what words were a joke? Saying there's nothing between me and brother? That wasn't a joke, Catherine said. I don't want to talk about this with you anymore, brother. My mind is made up. I don't want to change it. Even if you break up with the girl you like and come back to me, I won't want you anymore. Yes, to be honest, now it was not that I did not want to. I could not. Catherine thought. From a moment another man's child was in my belly, the fate between brother Ansel and me was already over. No matter how regretful, I could only face it calmly. Why are you so stubborn? Ansel said. What? His words instantly made Catherine furious. Stubborn? You call this stubborn? Catherine, please. I'm so tired, Ansel said. I don't understand what exactly you're tired about. Are you more tired than I was? Following behind you like an idiot for 10 years, only to hear you say in the end that you had someone you liked. I'm sorry. From now on, I'll treat you well. Ansel kept trying to salvage things. Why do you keep saying the same thing? Even if you treat me well, what then? I no longer want to do anything for you, Catherine said. Please, Catherine. Brother Ansel pushed himself up against the edge of the bed and suddenly took Catherine's hand. If there's anything you want, say it directly. I'll do anything for you. Why had I not realized this in 10 years? I could have known if I had observed him carefully. Catherine laughed inwardly. In the gaze Ansel fixed on me, there was no extra space at all to hold affection or love for me. Even without asking, I knew what he meant by saying these words in this posture. If driving a person into such a pitiful, forbidden place counts as a skill, then he truly is skilled. Catherine thought, it would have been wonderful if you had said that before telling me you had someone you liked. Catherine shook off Ansel's hand and said, at that time, I was restless because I wanted to kiss you, wanted to make out with you, wanted to roll around in bed with you. I would definitely have agreed very easily. She could not tell whether she was angry because Ansel Morel's words had some logic to them or simply because her emotional control had failed. Lately, she was always suddenly depressed, suddenly angry. Even without Ansel Morel stirring things up, her emotions swelled like a balloon. But perhaps this was good. Her sensitive emotions and sharpened nerves allowed Catherine to say harsh words without guilt to Ansel Morel, who still occupied one corner of her heart. Sorry, I'm not a fool. Though I don't know why you need me as insurance. Using your body to lure me is too cheap. I'm not interested now. Get out. Ansel did not respond. Otherwise, I'll go out. The instant I lifted the blanket and got out of bed, Ansel Morel grabbed my wrist. It hurts a little. Let go. It hurts. Catherine rose with him. A red mark remained on the wrist Ansel Morel released. Catherine lowered her head and looked at the wrist that had been grabbed. For some reason, she thought of Tiberius Het. When Tiberius Het came to our house, he had grabbed my wrist like this too. Unlike Ansel Morel's pale, woman-like hands, his hands were at least twice the size of mine. They were firm and powerful, yet unexpectedly gentle and did not hurt. And just as he had said then, it felt as if he simply wanted to touch me. Catherine could not help recalling this. How ridiculous. When I was grabbed by such a fierce person, I did not feel as if I had been seized. Yet being grabbed by these beautiful hands hurt and made me numb. 10 years. Yes, 10 years, Catherine. Do you think you can easily erase that time? Ansel asked. Let's see whether I try, Catherine said. So you still haven't forgotten? Ansel seemed to have caught a lifeline. Over the years, whenever Catherine fell into a hazy sleep, she would always think about what Ansel Morel truly wanted from her. Of course, she never found the answer in the end, and so she stopped thinking about it. She did not understand. Truly, she did not understand. He said he had a woman he liked, and he said he would give up. Then why was he clinging to her so tightly now? Yes, that's true. I still like you, Catherine said with her arms crossed. But I have absolutely no intention of reconsidering our relationship. Don't worry. Go date that woman, or even marry her. What's the problem? For some reason, her stomach began to churn again. Her vision also blurred. Catherine forced herself to move her almost limp legs, but Ansel Morrill grabbed her again. He suddenly pulled Catherine into his arms and gripped her chin, as if about to kiss her. Before his lips touched Catherine's, she forcefully turned her head aside, and his lips landed on Catherine's chin. "Lord Morrill, are you still inside?" Tiberius Het's voice came from outside the door. At this moment, like the gates of hell, that voice was practically his savior. "Ashit, Ansel Morrill, terrified, covered Catherine's mouth with his hand and once again held my arms and waist tightly, leaving her unable to move or make a sound. He stared at Catherine, signaling with his eyes for her to be quiet. Looking at Ansel Morrill's cold, threatening blue eyes, Catherine finally felt fear belatedly. It was too frightening. She had never seen such a strange Ansel Morrill before. He had clearly gone mad. The brother Ansel, who had always been gentle and kind, was now completely like another person. "Miss Grint, are you there?" Along with knocking, Tiberius Het's voice sounded again. "As long as we stay quiet, he will naturally leave. This is a noble lady's private space. Without permission, he cannot enter without authorization," Ansel whispered. But Catherine prayed wildly in her heart. "Please notice something is wrong. Please, like a damn knight, break the door down and take me away from here." Het stopped knocking. After the movement outside the door disappeared, the hand Ansel Morrill had pressed over Catherine's mouth slowly moved away. At the same time, Catherine could no longer hold back, and tears burst out. He was still restraining Catherine in an awkward posture, preventing her from escaping. "I'm sorry." Seeing Catherine frightened into tears by his rough behavior, Ansel Morrill squeezed out a brief apology. Should she curse him as a bastard, a beast, or an idiot? Just as Catherine was inwardly cursing him. Footsteps that she had thought had left suddenly sounded again. With a click, the door was pushed open. Ansel Morrill, holding Catherine in panic, abruptly turned his head. "Het, Lord Het." Catherine's crying voice changed pitch. Using all her strength, she pushed away the weakened Ansel Morrill and rushed toward Tiberius Het, who had walked in. That feeling was a little strange. It was like returning to the moment when she was 12, when a mountain knight rescued her from a nightmare and she threw herself into his arms. Yes, it was exactly that feeling. Wah. Reason told her how miserable she looked, but her body, like a fool, clung tightly to Tiberius Het's arm, crying with snot and tears as if she had found her lost father. When she raised her head to look at Tiberius Het, his expression was even more unfamiliar than Ansel Morrill's had been earlier. His muddy brown pupils shook like scorching heat haze. His slightly parted lips trembled faintly. She could not guess his emotions at all. Very soon, Catherine understood from the muscles of his clenched jaw and the suddenly icy gaze he turned toward Ansel Morrill that his emotion was anger. Wait. By the time I reacted, it was already too late. Tiberius Het strode toward Ansel Morrill. Without hesitation, he drew the sword at his waist. The sound of the blade leaving its sheath came with a cold flash. In the blink of an eye, Tiberius Het had rushed before Ansel Morrill and pressed the sword hard above his right collarbone. In an icy tone, he said, "According to the iron laws of the Spelton Empire's Knight Order, for disgraceful acts that violate the knightly spirit, the commander-in-chief has the right to execute the offender on the spot. Do you object?" Ansel Morrill met Tiberius Het's gaze expressionlessly. "Execute him on the spot?" Het's words startled Catherine. "Stop." Although Catherine was not very clear on what Tiberius Het, as a knight, would do, judging from the rumors, it would not be strange if he cut off Ansel Morrill's head right now. She had to stop him. She immediately rushed over and grabbed the hem of Tiberius Het's clothes. "Don't do this, Het," she shouted. Once a knight of Spelton loses his convictions, he loses the meaning of his existence. A person who violates the knightly spirit is no longer a knight. I have a duty to execute such disgrace. Please stop, Sir Knight. To draw blood in a young lady's room would likewise be disgraceful, wouldn't it? Catherine cried out. Perhaps Catherine's desperate attempt to stop him had an effect, for Tiberius Het finally turned to look at her. His face was still terrifyingly grim. The rage radiating from him was like poisonous smoke, making even the air grow heavy. "Lord Morrill, and I just had a slight dispute. There's no need to take it this far," Catherine added. "You expect me." Tiberius Het's expression clearly said, "How do you expect me to believe that? Believe it or not, I have to stop him. No matter how Ansel Morrill's responsibility is pursued afterward, he cannot be killed by Tiberius Het in my room. Your Grace, put away the sword." "Please," Catherine begged. Looking at the sharp blade pressed against Ansel Morrill's pale collarbone, I was afraid Tiberius Het might truly slide it down in a moment of impulse, and I urged him again. Still filled with anger, Tiberius Het turned his head and stared fixedly at Brother brother Ansel. Ansel Morel, Het called. After a long silence, Ansel finally squeezed out one word. Yes, I saw with my own eyes your behavior violating the knightly spirit. There is nothing to deny, is there? Het said, I now challenge you here to a débarrage. The words he spat through gritted teeth made people shudder. Débarrage, a method of dueling derived from the ancient imperial language meaning opportunity, was a mild execution carried out by a superior against a subordinate when a knight violated chivalry, that is, the knightly spirit. Chivalry covered the basic virtues of knights, from loyalty to the etiquette of protecting the weak. Applications for débarrage usually occurred on the battlefield. As their creed said, there must be valor on the battlefield. To devote one's life in loyalty to the monarch and die heroically in battle for the empire's ruler was a knight's honor. Yet there were always those who feared death and disobeyed orders or fled on the battlefield. Such disgraceful people who violated the knightly spirit would be executed on the spot by their superiors. However, even a wise commander had times when he treasured talent. Thus, débarrage came into being, granting one final opportunity to those who should have been executed. According to the rules, the superior who ought to execute the subordinate would duel the subordinate one-on-one. But the outcome was already assumed. The winner would be the subordinate who had violated the knightly spirit, and the loser would be the superior who applied for débarrage. The essence was to allow the knight to regain recognition of his honor as a knight through a valiant duel witnessed by colleagues and nobles. In the Speltan Empire, where strength determined rank, the superiors in the knight order were usually stronger, but they would intentionally allow the subordinate to win. This was both a pardon for the subordinate who had violated discipline and the tradition of débarrage. In addition, the witnesses and colleagues would forever keep secret the reason for the débarrage, that is, the specific conduct that violated the knightly spirit. Of course, everyone understood in their hearts that 99% of débarrages were due to failure in battle, disobeying orders, or fleeing the battlefield without permission. But in principle, everyone would keep the secret for the knight who received an opportunity. But this time, a débarrage suddenly initiated at a noble family's annex. This was not a battlefield. What exactly had Ansel Morel done to violate the knightly spirit that made Tiberius Het draw his sword against him? Father and brother Alex both looked at Catherine with puzzled faces. When Sir Het requested to borrow the training ground and asked me to serve as a witness for the duel, I was very confused, Father said. Catherine, do you truly know nothing about this? I'm not sure, Catherine said absently. She did not even know where to begin explaining. If I tell the truth, father and brother might try to kill Ansel Morel. In any case, the details of the violation of the knightly spirit will be kept secret, so it should be fine, she thought. Seeing Catherine remain silent, father quietly turned his head away. Brother, Catherine asked quietly, you said this is a duel where the stronger person always loses, right? Is there any situation where the superior never loses? Such cases almost never exist, Alexander said, supporting his chin. In a duel, the superior's defeat is a sign of pardon. Therefore, if the knight who violated the knightly spirit does not win, it is extremely shameful. It means you should be executed immediately, but because of external pressure, we cannot cut off your head. Moreover, we have no intention of regarding someone like you as a knight. Alexander's words left Catherine momentarily speechless. Then what happens to a knight who loses in a duel? Catherine asked. Such cases are rare, but so far, all subordinates who lost in the duel. Alexander said they felt that living was a disgrace too dishonorable to bear, so they all committed suicide. Probably. Before brother finished speaking, the duel began. The piercing clash of two swords resounded through the training ground. How to describe the scene of the two crossing blades? Because the difference in strength was so great, it looked simply absurd. Ansel Morel's build was also considered tall, but standing beside Tiberius Het, he looked thin. No, it was not that he looked thin. He truly was at a disadvantage. This débarrage should have demonstrated the virtue of a superior yielding to a subordinate. Yet Tiberius Het seemed to be using all his strength. Ansel Morel could only barely defend, looking extremely endangered. Catherine's guess soon became reality. The instant the blades separated, Tiberius Het launched a storm-like assault. The ringing clashes echoed terrifyingly through the training ground. As the exchanges increased, the watching knights began to stir. Clearly, most of them had seen that something was wrong. Brother Alex was no exception. See, Commander, this is... Alexander stammered. stammered. Tiberius Het had clearly had no intention from the start of covering up his subordinate's disgrace. After only about a dozen exchanges, Ansel Morel's sword flew from his hand. What is this? This is too improper, the crowd below murmured. The superior had won in a débarrage. Amid the uproar, Tiberius Het stepped on Ansel Morel's sword as he struggled on the ground, bent down, and whispered a few words to him. Then he turned and left. Everyone was stunned. Catherine was the same. What on earth was he thinking? In front of so many subordinates, he was openly forcing his own subordinate to commit suicide. The next day, the débarrage between Commander-in-Chief Tiberius Het and First Night Order Knight Ansel Morel, which had taken place at Count Grint's residence, caused a sensation in the Imperial Palace and even throughout the entire capital. Glenn, the young attendant of the Het family, was very sharp. Although his master usually did not speak much, just from the fact that the débarrage had occurred at Count Grint's home, he roughly guessed the reason. Only that young lady could make his master lose reason. A débarrage occurring in an annex was already strange news, and the report that the superior had not allowed the subordinate to win shocked everyone who heard it even more. I heard Lord Morel is still recovering from his injuries in the annex, the servant said. Why have I not heard that he died? He doesn't have that much courage, Het said doubtfully. Master, your reputation has also been damaged. If you were dissatisfied, why not personally execute him? Why do something that makes you a laughingstock? Once the news reaches the capital, your popularity will plummet, Glenn said. I don't care. Do you have not the slightest pity for a subordinate who may commit suicide at any time? His master lazily leaned against the sofa in the annex's sitting room. Hearing this, he tugged at the corner of his mouth, sat up, and looked at Glenn. If it were you, would you pity him? Frankly speaking, I wanted to deal with him then and there. But Kate interfered, so I failed to do as I wished. He seemed to recall something. If someone were about to die in my house, of course someone would stop it, Glenn said. If you had been there at the time, you would have done the same. That damn bastard. Slitting his throat wouldn't be enough, Het said. Your expression is full of menace. My lord, you had best hide this side of yourself from that young lady. Your face is already stern. If she learns that your personality is equally destructive, she will not come near you, Glenn said. More importantly, Glenn, who is the physician of Count Grint's household? Het asked. My lord, have you mistaken me for their butler? It is Sir Victor Fernando. Why do you ask? Contact him. Tell him I want to see him. Have him come to the estate. Het seemed to ignore Glenn's words. Understood, Glenn said. I felt incomparably ashamed. I did not know where to begin, nor did I know what father and brother would think after hearing it. But in a situation that might lead to Ansel Morel being executed or committing suicide because he had failed the débarrage, I could not remain silent forever. After struggling for an entire day, when father came to my room the next day and demanded an explanation, I finally told the truth. After hearing my words, father and brother Alex were silent for a long time. Alex, why did Lord Het not execute him directly? Is something like this forgivable through débarrage? What kind of knight harasses a lady? The silence was finally broken. Father's voice trembled with anger. Catherine hurriedly defended Tiberius Het. This is not Lord Het's fault. Father, he originally intended to execute Ansel. I stopped him. I didn't want that. Father seemed to want to say something. In the end, he left the room silently. Brother Alex stood there for a long while. Only then did he sit beside me. I felt somewhat awkward and did not dare look at him. Catherine, come here. Catherine looked back and saw brother spreading his arms, smiling at her. Catherine could no longer hold back and burst into tears. Ugh, brother. Brother gently patted Catherine's back and did not say much. He simply kept stroking her back. That was enough. Nothing needed to be said. Her chaotic, frightened emotions gradually calmed. When her tears had flowed until she could cry no more, brother finally pulled Catherine out of his embrace and looked into her eyes. Oh dear, our peerless beauty has cried herself into a little tabby cat. You're so ugly. What are you saying? Catherine said angrily. Ha ha ha, I'm joking. Brother wiped Catherine's tear-streaked cheeks and pulled her into his arms again. Don't be too sad. Father isn't truly angry. He is only disappointed. Right now, I dare say what he wants to do most is break Ansel's arms and legs. I don't know why you suddenly decided not to marry him, but as your brother, I think this is the best result, Alexander said. Why? Catherine asked. Because I know that bastard never truly loved you, Alexander said. I hope you can meet someone who will cherish you, who will love you like Dad and I do. No, someone who will love you even more than we do. Someone who will make you happy. I don't know whether you have already forgiven Ansel, but asking me to change the outcome of the match or help him is not something I can do. To be honest, as your brother, I do not want to help him at all right now. Please, brother, she pleaded. This isn't about forgiveness. The thought that someone might die because of me is horrifying, especially if that person is Ansel. I understand how you feel, Alexander said, scratching his head. But considering what he did to you, not giving him the punishment he deserves is absolutely not an option. If we turn a blind eye to this, our family's reputation will become a joke. He stroked Catherine's head. This has to be decided by father. But from the look of it, he is even more determined than I am. You must be exhausted. Don't worry too much. Rest well tonight, all right? After saying that, Alexander left. At Duke Het's residence. Sir Fernando, it is a pleasure to meet you. I hear you are the physician of Count Grint's household. Is that correct? Het asked, facing Tiberius Het, who sat across from him and calmly observed him. Victor Fernando could not guess his thoughts at all. He began to break out in a cold sweat again. Ah, yes. May I ask if you're feeling unwell? A slight headache. Perhaps I have been thinking too much. But Mr. Fernando, I heard you were the family doctor of Count Grint's household. When Tiberius Het suddenly mentioned Count Grint's household, Victor Fernando trembled violently. In fact, Victor Fernando had already advised Catherine many times to tell the truth as soon as possible. But she always said she had difficulties she could not speak of. After repeatedly questioning her, he learned that Het was someone who advocated neither marriage nor children. He thought such a person might indeed keep his mouth shut. He remembered Catherine's words, "If I tell the truth," and he shouts, "You ruin my life. What then? What if he gets angry? Maybe we should agree to both keep quiet, and I'll raise the child myself." Putting aside Tiberius Het's refusal to marry, Victor Fernando greatly disliked him for making Catherine suffer like this. "Yes, I'm a family doctor there." His answer involuntarily became vague. "I hear Miss Grint has been feeling unwell lately. What exactly is wrong?" A doctor cannot disclose a patient's medical details. Of course, unless Lord Het and Lady Grint are husband and wife. He stared at Het and thought how absurd. He does not want to marry, yet only wants to. It's over, Fernando thought. If Catherine were his own daughter, he would have wanted to go find Tiberius Het immediately and settle accounts. Even now, he could not help wanting to grab this young man by the head and curse. "You bastard." But he still endured it. It is 6 weeks now. No, 7 weeks, right? Het's seemingly casual question startled Victor Fernando. He was talking about the weeks of pregnancy. It seemed he knew the truth. Catherine must have told him. Yes. What do you intend to do? Although I have heard about your views, now that the child is already here, surely you cannot persist in refusing marriage. Fernando was speaking as if lecturing him when he suddenly saw Tiberius Het's dumbfounded expression and froze. There really is a child. Het stammered. Didn't you ask because you already knew? Fernando said. No, I was only testing you. Watching Het clutch his forehead and laugh awkwardly, Victor Fernando broke out in another layer of cold sweat. The young master's mother truly hated sour things in the past. How much did she hate them? They say many pregnant women suddenly crave sour foods after becoming pregnant. She would not even touch oranges that were perfectly sweet. No one knew how she could so accurately taste sourness that no one else could detect, but she refused to eat them. Yet strangely, when she was pregnant with the young master, she wanted nothing but oranges. Pregnant women often crave sour foods. Is that not interesting? And pregnant women with severe morning sickness suffer terribly. Did you know? Because of morning sickness, your mother could not eat the food she usually liked, and she lost a great deal of weight. Though he would not call himself dull, he was not exactly quick-witted either. This suspicion had begun by chance. That day, when he recalled the old story about the wet nurse and the director's mother, those long-buried memories suddenly flashed through his mind like lightning. He had heard of Catherine's reactions from Count Grint. Catherine, like his mother, did not like sour things very much. But seeing her pick out only the oranges from her salad, how did that look like someone who hated sourness? Of course, if he had not seen her retching at herring steak, unable even to hold her knife steady, he would not have suspected anything even if she ate oranges every day. Everyone was different. Pregnant women with severe morning sickness suffered terribly. The young master's mother had lost a great deal of weight because of morning sickness, and her complexion had been poor. How could someone who claimed to have a cold and body aches retch so violently at the sight of food? The more he thought about it, the more she resembled his mother when she was pregnant. His suspicion deepened layer by layer. Beginning with one doubt, he searched for evidence as though fitting together a puzzle, and soon reached a conclusion. Though there was almost no concrete proof, in the end, he summoned Catherine's family doctor alone. Victor Fernando returned to the present. This was absurd. Looking at the stunned Het, Victor Fernando felt tightness in his chest. If he had been forced to reveal the secret, then he could only lay everything bare. Victor Fernando slapped the table with a crack. Tiberius Het flinched in fright. What is absurd about it? When a man and a woman have relations, naturally there is a chance of pregnancy, is there not? Igriegagis, you are right. I was thoughtless. I was clear-headed that day, and I took contraceptive measures, so I never imagined this would happen. Het said, you consider withdrawal a reliable contraceptive method? Its failure rate exceeds 20%. Before having relations, you should have asked whether the other party was taking contraceptive medicine. If not, then you should not have done something you could not take responsibility for. If you did not intend to marry, if you did not intend to have a child, Fernando scolded him loudly. I apologize, but Het, like a prospective son-in-law being reprimanded, shrank slightly. Then, all at once, he straightened with a grave expression and continued, who says I will not take responsibility? As a man, is that not only natural? If she is carrying my child, of course I should raise it. What? Did you think I would irresponsibly say it has nothing to do with me? I'm not that kind of person. What was this? Victor Fernando was stunned. Het suddenly rose and pressed down on his shoulders. His excited manner was almost mad. At that moment, Het looked like a husband in a couple who had planned a pregnancy for years and had finally heard good news. Perhaps to withstand the mental shock, he was hypnotizing himself into believing this was a happy occasion. No matter how one looked at it, that was exactly what he seemed like. Het hurriedly threw on a thick coat and rushed to leave the reception room. Wait, Mr. Het, where are you going? Fernando asked. To Count Grint's residence. Please take your time with your tea. Thank you for looking after Catherine. I will contact you again when I find the time. Farewell, Het said hastily. What on earth was wrong with this man? He stumbled and nearly fell, then recovered as though nothing had happened. Leaving behind a bright smile and the words I am going, he disappeared. Only Victor Fernando remained, feeling that the whole thing was utterly ridiculous. How much longer until we arrive? Het asked. And master, we only just set out. We are hurrying as best we can. Faced with Het's urging, the coachman broke out in nervous sweat. As he said, it had been less than 5 minutes since they got into the carriage, but Het's heart was already burning with impatience. His slightly trembling legs were proof of his anxiety. For some reason, though she said she liked free love, as they continued meeting, she kept mentioning marriage and childbirth. Het thought of Catherine's words. When do you intend to marry? To Catherine Grint, that day had been one absurd night. But to Het, it had been the day a long-held wish came true. Let's keep seeing each other for now. He had once felt she did not seem to like him very much. So when she said she wanted to continue seeing him, how could he not be surprised? At the time, he had been too delighted that he could keep meeting her to examine the reason she had changed her mind. Everything had a reason. She had been carrying a child but hesitated, not knowing how to say it. That was why she had brought in a reporter. That was why she had made up her mind to say they should keep seeing each other for now. Please imagine an adorable newborn. Oh, how cute it would be. A round little face, a tiny pursed mouth, and its hands and feet would surely resemble yours, Mr. Het. Goodness, even its crying would be lovable. You could look at it all day and never tire of it. Mr. Het, someday you will surely want a child, right? Recalling how she had spoken nervously and incessantly, Het could not help a bitter smile. Catherine at that time had undoubtedly been doing her utmost to express her feelings. He felt ashamed and sorry that he had failed to understand her hints. He thought, I'm glad I could see her right away. I should have noticed something was wrong, but I carelessly overlooked it. Damn it, how was I supposed to know if she said nothing? For heaven's sake, how many days and nights had she suffered alone? He raced forward as swiftly as the wind. Was that Duke Het just now? One maid asked. Yes, another maid answered, but he was smiling so brightly. What should I do? Catherine asked the face in the mirror. Even after sleeping all day, she still looked utterly lifeless. Say something. What should I do? Catherine lowered her head and looked at her belly, at the child who might start making trouble at any moment, but had no presence except for her morning sickness. Of course, no one answered her. Honestly, how irresponsible. In the end, this is all because of this little one. Baby, if only you had not felt sick at herring steak. No, that is not right. How can I blame you? Back then, even if I had not clung to Het and said we should sleep together, no, why blame me either? This is all the fault of that utterly wicked Ansel Morrill. Catherine's heart was full of contradiction. Yes, that was it. Though she found him truly hateful and disgusting, she could not pretend not to know his situation now. thinking that Ansel Morrill might be spending every day in despair, calculating when he should end his life. Catherine's head felt as though it would split. Was this reasonable? No matter what wrong he had committed, she absolutely did not want him to kill himself. She feared she would remember it for the rest of her life and live burdened by guilt. What kind of punishment for Ansel was that? It was clearly punishment for her. Catherine thought. She had thought that after the judgment of the débarrage was over, the matter could quietly pass. She had been a fool to trust Het. No, the real problem was that the result of the débarrage had been made public. People would surely speculate. This was not a battlefield noble's household. So how could such a thing happen? Then they would point fingers at her. Ah, it is all the herring steak's fault. Baby, listen. Though I'm blaming the herring steak out loud, I'm actually blaming you. You're already this picky before you were even born. How fussy will you be later? I can already tell. Catherine glared resentfully at her belly, which had not yet begun to show. Inside was a little creature not yet born, but already making her anxious. She let out a long sigh and looked again at the mirror on the dressing table. "Be brother?" Catherine jumped in fright and hurriedly turned around. The door was ajar. She did not know when her brother had come in. He held a tray in his hands, probably Catherine's breakfast. It seemed he had come in Amy's place to give Catherine something to eat and check on her condition. It was over. This was the end. She did not even have a chance to make excuses. Catherine thought. Her brother's expression seemed to be piecing together Catherine's muttered monologue about herring steak and the events of that day. After thinking alone for a while, he finally opened his mouth in shock. Is what Alexander said true? The child's father. Her father asked. Catherine remained silent. Oh heavens! Her father nearly fainted. Seeing her father for the second time in one day, his face looked half as haggard as before. He must have spent the whole night unable to sleep because of Ansel's matter, and now in the morning she had thrown another bomb at him. No one had asked Catherine to do so, but she still dropped to her knees before her father. Before her father could tell her to rise, she raised her head with effort. "Please strike me," Catherine said. "First, calm down." "Alexander," her father said in distress. "Yes, father," Alexander answered. Her father's call made Catherine's heart jolt. Yesterday, she had still thought he was the most reliable brother in the world. His change in attitude was astonishingly fast. She had never imagined he would immediately tell their father everything with such force. Indeed, there was no one in this world one could completely trust. Catherine thought, first, send a letter to the Morrill family. It'll be troublesome if that man dies. Her father collapsed into a swivel chair, rubbing his forehead and shaking his head again and again. At the mention of the Morrill family, her father naturally assumed the child's father was Brother Ansel. She was truly going mad. With her father in a daze after 2 consecutive shocks, how could she say that the child's father was someone else? Catherine thought. Moreover, she had not even had time to tell Het who the child's father was. She had to give him some time to prepare first. She could not let her father know before him. Catherine used her ultimate weapon, the father she only called upon in times of need. Fortunately, though her father still looked blank, he finally looked at her. Brother Ansel is not the child's father, Catherine said. The room, already silent, fell into an even deeper stillness. Looking at her father and brother's blank expressions, Catherine was instantly drowned in guilt. "W, what did you say?" her father asked in shock. "Father, I am sorry," Catherine apologized. "You girl." Her father's face turned blue as he shot up from the chair. "Could it be? Don't tell me you and Mr. H. Het were together? That day in that place? No, it is not like that." Though the fact of her pregnancy had been exposed, Catherine still wanted to conceal for a little longer that the child's father was Het. Now she had to calm her father and brother first, then personally go to Het's home. At this point, she had to lay everything bare. Once she went, she would close her eyes, say it clearly, and then discuss what to do. Yes, once she said it, then, "Master, Mr. Het has now arrived at the residence." A sudden announcement rang out. What? From outside the door came the report that Tiberius Het had arrived unexpectedly. Catherine was so frightened she nearly fainted. Not even 1 minute had passed since she had denied that Mr. Het was the child's father, and now he had come. What kind of cursed world was this? Just as her pregnancy had been discovered and she was being questioned about who the father was, the child's actual father arrived. If God truly existed, why would he do this to her? Catherine thought, why has he suddenly come? Her father asked, perhaps because of Ansel's matter. After all, there are many rumors, Alexander said. Though the situation was bizarre, her brother's words were reasonable enough to make Catherine sigh in relief. Aside from what happened that day, what reason would Het have to come to our house all of a sudden? Catherine secretly rejoiced and immediately turned to leave. Count Grint. Het knelt on one knee. Madam Grint, I have come to formally ask for your daughter's hand in marriage. His gesture shocked everyone. Seeing Catherine's mouth also fall open, Alexander asked, "Why are you the one looking surprised?" At first, Het had not intended to go directly to Count Grint. "Mr. Het, Lady Catherine is currently with Count Grint. I will look for Lady Catherine again on your behalf. I shall escort you there at once." "Very well," Het said, and thus this meeting came about. Her father had clearly detained Catherine on purpose and had Het brought here. His intention could not have been more obvious. Every minute felt as long as a year. Time seemed to stop until, with a click, the door opened and Tiberius Het appeared. Only then did time begin to flow again. Het glanced at Catherine, then bowed to her father. Caught in the middle, Catherine could only watch their expressions. "What brings you to our humble residence?" her father asked. "I have something to report to the Count," Het said. "Speak," her father replied. "If it concerns Mr. Morel or the de Barrage, I do not particularly wish to hear it. I thought you, Mr. Het, had sufficient reason to ignore such matters." "Etensweld? Ah, thank you for thinking so, but I did not come to speak of those matters." "Then what is it?" her father asked in confusion. Her father looked suspiciously at Tiberius Het, then looked again at Catherine. "If I say I came because I discovered she was pregnant, he will be furious and ask why I only found out now." Het thought, if I say I came to ask permission to court Catherine, he might misunderstand the de Barrage as jealousy toward a rival. If Catherine Grint realizes why I came here and sees that I am serious about taking responsibility. Catherine, feeling guilty, was seized by an inexplicable fear even though she should have ignored it. Was that not true? Het knew nothing. Her father was not someone who would deliberately make things difficult for him either. Their conversation should have had nothing to do with Catherine. Then why was she so uneasy? Why was her heart beating so fast? As Tiberius Het hesitated before answering, he suddenly turned back and looked at her. Catherine immediately had a premonition that shocking words capable of making her collapse would come out of his mouth. Her premonition came true. Tiberius Het, as though preparing to go to war, and yet like a man receiving imperial inspection during a military parade, dropped to one knee with a solemn expression. "Count Grint, I have come to formally ask for your daughter, Miss Grint's, hand in marriage." Tiberius Het finally said those words even Catherine could not understand. What followed were her father and brother's thunderstruck, dumbfounded expressions. And that was how matters developed to this point. "Then you are the child's father?" her father asked. "You were dating Ansel at the time. And then, at some point during that, you began seeing this fellow too?" her father asked, bewildered. "Catherine, that is not it, father. I was never truly in love with Ansel." "I understand. Then does that mean the two of you were dating before?" her father asked. That is not it either." "Wait," Het said. "What exactly are you saying? Are you saying you were not even formally courting my daughter, yet you still slept with her?" her father shouted. "And you still dare call yourself a knight? She is merely a young girl who knows nothing of the world, while you..." Her father's blood pressure rose sharply, and he nearly fainted. Alexander hurried over to support him. "Count, that is not what I mean." Het said, "We were not lovers, but I never once took my relationship with Lady Grint lightly." His words moved Catherine for a moment. "You lie so skillfully without even blinking," Catherine thought. "If you trust me and entrust her to my care, I promise you have nothing to worry about," Het continued. "On what basis do you think I can trust some man who appeared out of nowhere? Do you think I raised my daughter for this? Do you think this is a joke?" her father shouted. "This is not a joke." Het suddenly stood up. His sudden movement made her father's blood pressure shoot up again. "Father, please calm down." Catherine shouted. "I will not strike back until you calm down. If you insist on hitting me, then hit me," Het said, kneeling again. "Do you think I am weak just because I am old? In my day," her father said, rolling up his sleeves. "Father," Catherine suddenly shouted. She shielded Het with her hand. "Enough. What did he do wrong?" "He said he would take responsibility." Catherine said. Of course, he had certainly put an overwhelming amount of pressure on her. But even so, Tiberius stared at her in astonishment. He had thought he would be fighting alone, only to gain an unexpected ally. "Why you?" The Count trembled with rage. His precious daughter, whom he had raised for 22 years, had not only caused a great disaster, but was now defending a strange man in front of him. He felt his blood pressure plummet and his strength drain away. Raising children truly is a thankless task. Her father collapsed onto the sofa, wanting to cry, but unable to shed tears. Fine. Prepare the wedding before her belly begins to show. Her father had silently accepted this outcome. To be honest, Catherine had never expected Het to react this way. When she learned she was pregnant, she had imagined thousands of possible reactions from him, but never this. Perhaps he was not doing this for any other reason, but sincerely wanted to take responsibility. In any case, all the anxiety and pressure in front of her instantly vanished like smoke. Catherine even wanted to kiss him. How long did you plan to hide this? Het asked. I am sorry I did not tell you sooner, but it's good that you know now. Thinking about the suffering I went through these past few days is truly dreadful, Catherine said. How is your body? Het asked. I'm fine now. As long as you do not scare me again like you did just now, I will not faint, Catherine said playfully. I'm sorry, Het said. Your way of speaking suddenly became concise. Catherine narrowed her eyes. Tiberius shrugged and curled his lips in satisfaction. We are about to become husband and wife. There is no need to be so formal. If you wish, you may also speak more casually. I do not mind. I will take my time. After all, I am still young, Catherine said. Then from today onward, I will call you Catherine. His expression was so serious that Catherine did not know whether to laugh or cry. It was only a form of address. Did he need to be so solemn? As you like. Then I will call you casually too. What should I call you? Tibby? Catherine said. Though it sounded a little like the name of a family dog, it was oddly cute. Seeing that he seemed to like it too, she decided on it. Then Tibby it is. Do you like it? Catherine asked, looking at the pleased Het. What is this? Tiberius pointed with his chin at the parchment and pen Catherine had prepared on the desk. I am writing the agreement for our happy married life, Catherine said. H happy what? Het coughed with a flushed face. It seemed he had no resistance to such embarrassing words. She would have to be careful in the future. Though the road ahead was uncertain, it would be hard to find a man this earnest in the entire capital. Tiberius was actually quite good. Catherine decided to properly thank him for his courage. Article 1. She began writing. Tiberius Het and Catherine Grint. Catherine had never dated before and did not know how to write such a thing. But considering that Tiberius's life creed of never marrying and never having children had collapsed, she thought she should be as considerate as possible. Within the possible range, she would give him freedom. Respect each other's freedom, so long as it does not cause problems. Holmasi. After finishing, Catherine looked at him in satisfaction. His face darkened. His already cold and handsome face became even more frightening. He snatched the paper away and tore it to shreds. She would call him Tiberius, after all. This man did not deserve an intimate nickname so easily. Selfish and rough. Just remembering how he had snatched away the happy marriage agreement she had written, ripped it to pieces, and glared at her with a frown made her furious. Catherine thought. Heaven knew what he was thinking. No matter how fierce he looked, he should know that behavior was frightening. Just as Catherine's heart pounded like a drum, and she did not know what to do, he spoke. There is no need for any problems in a happy married life. I'm trying here. Do not go too far, Catherine said incoherently. No need. Do not try. It would be best if you stayed away from me. Seeing you annoys me, Het said with a gloomy face. What did you say? Catherine shouted. He thought she was not trying for herself, but for him. Even if they were forced together because of the child, if they made an effort, perhaps they could become a healthy and affectionate couple. Yet Tiberius treated her as a nuisance and said there was no need for a happy marriage. Catherine understood that their marriage was unusual, but refusing even to try was too cold. I'm such a fool. I actually imagined having a happy marriage with a bastard like you, Catherine shouted. Huh, what an honor to be called a bastard by you, Het retorted. You infuriate me. We are not married yet, so do not speak informally. Use respectful speech. Catherine shouted. 1. Disgusting. Disgusting. Tiberius was 100 times more childish than Catherine had imagined. At his age, he was still a knight who did not understand compromise. Catherine angrily argued with him for over an hour before he left in resentment. Humph, bastard, Catherine fumed. I'm truly worried about our future, Catherine thought. Things had been so hectic that she had not even had time to visit Casey's home. Mrs. Merrill had taken a long leave and left, so Casey must surely be lonely by herself. I will announce the wedding news, then spend the night at Casey's house. As she was thinking that, she suddenly froze upon seeing the person ahead. Why is Ansel here? Why is Ansel in front of Casey's house? Catherine thought. Could it be that, like the knights of the Spelton Empire who chose suicide when they lost their honor, Ansel had made the same decision? So he had come to say a final farewell to Casey. Thinking of that, Catherine could not help feeling nauseous. What would happen if Ansel died? She again recalled Casey's words. Brother Ansel is the one who saved your life. If he had not saved you, you would not be by my side now, right? That makes me very sad and afraid. If the Count had not taken in me and my mother, we might have died on the streets too. Is that not frightening? That is why I will be grateful to the Count for the rest of my life. He saved my life. Doing this is only natural. So you should also be grateful to Brother Ansel. You think so too, right? Catherine said. Memories surged in like a tide. Catherine found it hard to breathe. If Ansel truly killed himself, what would that make her? He had saved her life, and yet she had become the one who drove him to death. She thought, is he going to find Casey, or has he just come out after seeing her? If he confesses everything to Casey, what kind of eyes will she look at me with? Catherine, is Brother Ansel so insignificant in your heart? You said you liked him. You said he was your benefactor. How could you give up so easily? One day, you will abandon me like that too, won't you? Even though Casey had said nothing, Catherine could see her resentful expression before her eyes. A suffocating sensation rushed over her. I must stop him. No matter what, I must stop him, Catherine thought. If I cannot, I will kneel to Father or beg Tiberius. No matter what, I must stop him. Just as Catherine resolved herself and walked toward Ansel, Casey came out. The two looked at each other for a long while. Then Catherine could not believe her eyes. Ansel slowly embraced Casey and kissed her. Casey did not push him away. The kiss lasted a long time, as if they had known each other that way for ages. Catherine staggered back into the alley and hid. Her hands trembled, and her mind went blank. What had she just seen? Sobs sounded from inside the room. "Wah, miss, please stop crying." Amy comforted her. "Ugh, I will not eat. Please try this soup." Amy said again. "How could someone like me be in the mood to eat?" Catherine said with red eyes. Amy pulled Catherine up from the bed, scooped up soup with a spoon, and brought it to her lips. Catherine irritably swatted her hand away. Amy angrily set down the tray, put her hands on her hips, and said, "I told you long ago that Casey was hiding something. Every day, it was Brother Ansel, Brother Ansel. It was not even him who saved you. Why did she keep praising him in front of you? 10 years of talking about your life-saving benefactor every time you met. Is that not manipulation?" Hearing this, Catherine had nothing to say and continued crying. Amy continued, "To put it plainly, even if Mrs. Merrill had not caught you back then, that sort of thing would not have happened. She was guilty, so she desperately held Ansel up. Look, just now she was even flaunting a man in front of you. They must have been together for a long time," Catherine said. "Who knows? Only ghosts know when they got together." Amy beat her chest. Catherine felt as though she had been struck by lightning. The mysterious woman Ansel had longed for was actually Casey. Catherine's vision went dark, and her hands and feet turned cold. Then anger blazed up inside her. She wanted to rush to Casey's house at once and demand an explanation. But after calming down, Catherine became deeply confused. Casey had always tried to bring her and Ansel together. She had even flown into a rage when Catherine had someone else stand in for her wedding. Yet now she was secretly in love with him. What lay behind such contradictory behavior? Perhaps it was because Count Morrill would never accept Catherine, born a commoner, as the wife of his sole heir. They could only sneak around in secret. Would it be better to maintain contact with a close friend? To live like lovers with a complete stranger? What exactly was Casey thinking? "I do not understand," Catherine thought. Just then, a maid suddenly announced that Tiberius had arrived. Before Catherine could stop her, Amy shoved him into the room. Tiberius, seeing Catherine crying on the bed like a tearful mess, he rushed over in shock. "What happened? Why are you speaking so casually?" Catherine said. "Why are you crying?" His brows knotted tightly. "Tell me what happened." How could she say it? Was she supposed to say she had caught her close friend and her benefactor kissing passionately, and that she was intensely jealous because they could freely love each other? Moreover, she and Het were about to marry because of the child. Saying such things would only make him weary of her. "Why do you say nothing? Do not tell me something really happened. Did you meet Ansel Morrill? Could it be by chance the same as last time?" He questioned. "And no, it is not like that," Catherine hurriedly said. "Everyone has things they do not want to talk about, so do not pressure me with such a frightening face." After hearing this, Het fell silent. After a while, he suddenly sat beside Catherine. "Is he worried about me? I never expected that," Catherine thought. "But really, why did you come?" Catherine asked. Het glanced at Catherine. "Come home with me for a meal." He suddenly reached out and stroked Catherine's cheek. "We will be living together sooner or later. It would be good to meet the people in my house in advance. But you do not seem well today. I will come another day." When both of them were sulking at each other, he had come all the way to where she lived and even suggested they share a meal. Catherine thought, he must be setting aside his pride and offering an olive branch to make peace. How long was she going to cling to the past and waste time? "All right," Catherine said. Seeing him lower his pride and take the initiative to make peace, Catherine nodded. I will go. I have already lost 10 years. Shall I not look forward now? Catherine thought. Tiberius's home was more modest than Catherine had imagined. Though it was not as grand as the Grin estate, it was warm in just the right way. Welcome, my lady. The butler came forward to greet her. I am honored to meet you in person. I am Glenn, the butler. Nice to meet you. Stop that fake smile of yours. The two showed completely different attitudes. I cannot help it. They just made me this way. Glenn answered Het. That fake smile makes me sick. Just act normal. Oh, thank you for the compliment. The two bickered. It seems he is very casual with the servants in his home, Catherine thought. The cook, Sonia, welcomed Catherine like family. On the table was mild Hibernian cuisine. She had heard women there almost never suffered from morning sickness. Sonia had specially prepared light soup and salad for her. Miss Catherine, try this. I used all my skill, Sonia said. Sonia smiled as she served Catherine soup. Glenn helped Catherine settle into her seat. Ah, thank you, Glenn, Catherine thanked him. This was strange. She should have felt discomfort in her stomach now. Yet strangely, she did not feel nauseous at all. Catherine thought. Sonia seemed to see through Catherine's thoughts. I heard your morning sickness was severe, so I put special care into today's meal. I hope it suits your taste. I come from a northern country called Hibernia. The dishes there are not heavily seasoned when eaten. Perhaps that is why Hibernian women rarely suffer from morning sickness. Glenn, bring the tea I brewed earlier. It goes perfectly with Hibernian-style salad, Sonia instructed. Glenn answered and went off. And you? She pointed at Het, whose face was gloomy. Stop sulking. I told you beforehand that because Madame's morning sickness is severe, I could not prepare me. Seeing Tiberius pout like a child being scolded by his mother, Catherine could not help laughing. Is there truly no way to prepare something separately for me? Het persisted. No, Sonia refused. Being picky is bad for you. Master, Glenn said with a smile. No, this is not being picky, Het argued. Catherine scooped a spoonful of soup into her mouth. It is delicious. She was amazed. The soup tasted unexpectedly good. There was no harshness at all. Sonia clapped proudly. I am glad you like it. From now on, I will make Hibernian meals for you every day. This lady is truly too adorable, Sonia praised, standing beside the young master. She looks so small and delicate. What should we do? How can someone be as white as snow and as cute as a rabbit? If the baby resembles this lady, whether it is a boy or a girl, it will be unbelievably adorable. Compared to the master? Glenn asked. The young master was not like this when he was little. Among all the children I ever cared for, he was once the cutest, Sonia recalled. Time is truly cruel. Stop talking nonsense and go eat, Het said, covering his flushed face. Oh dear, am I flattering myself too much? This lady is truly too charming, Sonia said with a smile. Not all, Het said after thinking for a moment. Then please enjoy your meal. If you need anything, just call me, Sonia said warmly. All right, Catherine answered. Somehow, Sonia's warm company and gentle voice made Catherine think of her mother, though Sonia did not look like her. If her mother were still alive, she would probably be around Sonia's age. Her mother had married the person she loved most in the world. Out of that love, she had given birth to Catherine, her greatest happiness. She had hoped Catherine would grow up and one day find the same happiness for herself. I am sorry, Mother. I grew up, but I have never experienced love like other people. Far from marrying the person I love, 2 months ago, I did not even know the man I am about to marry. Even after marriage, love was unlikely to bloom. She was entangled with a reckless and cold man. This was unfair. What did she lack to deserve a loveless marriage? Even Ansel and Casey had their sweet romance. Why was she the only one without it? Madame Grint, is something wrong? That gentle voice surfaced beside her ear again. Why had her emotions been so easily stirred these days? I will not, Catherine suddenly said. What is it? Het asked. I will not go through with this marriage. Catherine suddenly shouted. What? Het was startled. Madame Grint, what are you saying? Exactly what I said. I no longer intend to marry. I feel too sorry for myself to go through with this. Catherine rose from her seat. With a bang, Het suddenly slammed his hand on the table. Catherine jumped in fright. Catherine Grint, he shouted. Sit down. He walked toward Catherine. What? Catherine backed away in fear. Tiberius suddenly took out a stack of documents. He slapped the documents onto the table. Sign here. The heading on the document clearly read, Spelton Empire Marriage Registration Application. Catherine was startled. No way. Do not make this so difficult. Hurry up and do it, Het said. I said no. She rushed toward the documents and tore them to shreds. But then Het took out even more documents. This was far too thorough. Just how many copies of the marriage registration had he prepared? Catherine thought with a dark expression. Why are you suddenly like this? Then tell me, if not me, who do you plan to marry? Het said, holding his forehead. What did he mean? Catherine thought angrily. I could marry someone else. I may not look beautiful, but I was born into a well-known, noble family. I am young, decent-looking, and very suited for romance. Someone else? Het said with a dark expression. Catherine grinned. You are carrying my child, yet you dare say you will marry someone else? That rigid, knightly sense of responsibility. That outdated belief that a man must take responsibility for a woman carrying his child. But sincerely loving one's wife was another matter entirely. Expecting a normal romance while carrying deep wounds would be difficult, would it not? Catherine thought. She forcefully pushed Het away. I am leaving. Do not follow me, Catherine said. Catherine grinned. At least tell me why. Het called loudly to stop her. Catherine said slowly. Then her words became a shout. I do not want a loveless marriage. Then Catherine prepared to leave quickly, leaving Het standing in place. What, Miss Grint? Sorry, I was distracted just now. Catherine was currently at Henna Salon. It was a social gathering where noble young ladies met regularly. She had not attended in a long time because of recent matters. This time, it had been her father's idea. Before the news of Catherine and Tiberius's hasty engagement spread, he wanted to lay groundwork for the image that they had fallen in love freely. I have to lie here and say Tiberius and I are passionately in love and about to become engaged. I also have to invent lies about how considerate he is. Though this goes against my conscience, Catherine thought. By the way, Miss Grint, it has been so long. Have you been busy? The one speaking was Miss Everglade, daughter of a viscount, nicknamed the Winged Hummingbird. She was the main reason Catherine had come here. Today's conversation would spread through the entire capital through her. A little. It is somewhat embarrassing, but I'm seeing someone rather good, Catherine said. Oh, who is it? The 5 young ladies in the salon all looked at Catherine in surprise. Mr. Tiberius Het, who serves in the Imperial Night Order, Catherine said. Ashit, goodness, that Tiberius Het? The young ladies began chattering all at once. Yes, it was the expected reaction. Catherine smiled awkwardly and nodded. He is currently the most attractive man in the capital. How exactly did you two meet? Hurry, tell us, Miss Everglade asked. We met through my brother, Catherine answered evasively. Oh my, incredible. He is the most sought-after man in the capital right now. I heard so many ladies are interested in him. So the reason he never looked at anyone else was because of Miss Grint, one lady said. And no, not at all. Haha, how awkward. The most sought-after man in the capital was being forced to marry her because of child. She suddenly somewhat understood the maddened look he had worn when he tore up the happy agreement. Catherine thought. In truth, he was not that outstanding, and she did not even know whether they would truly marry. But for the family's image, she might as well fill her mouth with lies. Catherine thought, ugh, this really feels unpleasant. Then, Madame Grint, have you properly resolved the matter with Sir Morrel? Everglade said. Miss Everglade. Honestly, the other young ladies also began speaking. There is nothing to resolve. Madame Grint has already endured too much. Exactly, Madame Everglade. Come now, what is there to resolve? Do you not even know what Madame Grint went through? Just because she liked him does not mean she did not suffer. We all saw it. Do you remember that rainy day? She called and asked if he could come pick her up, but he only sent a carriage and an empty one at that. Honestly, what kind of person does not even appear himself? He clearly did not care at all. The young ladies spoke up for Catherine one after another. I would rather forget that pitiful period of my life, Catherine thought, wanting to cry. By the way, Miss Grint. Miss Everglade suddenly hesitated. The other young ladies also looked at Catherine with shining eyes. We heard, at the last night gathering held at Count Grint's estate, the whole capital is now talking about it. Mr. Het requested a débarrage duel against Mr. Morrel and won. We are terribly curious. Was it a duel between men for your sake, with the loser withdrawing? Otherwise, why would he request a duel and win? The other ladies nodded one after another. I had been wondering when someone would bring that up, Catherine thought. We are terribly curious. Was it a duel between men for your sake, with the loser withdrawing? Otherwise, why would he request a duel and win? The other ladies nodded one after another. No. Then why? The young ladies asked one by one. I do not know either. And a débarrage duel is, in principle, meant to conceal its circumstances. It would not be polite to dig into a matter that violates the rules, Catherine said. The young ladies all expressed understanding. Seeing that she seemed to know but refused to say more, they were disappointed but could only nod. By the way, why has Miss Brown not come? Last time I came, she had also not appeared in a long while. Is she unwell? Catherine changed the subject. It had only been a casual question, but she discovered that the young lady's expressions had turned strange. Miss Grint, have you not heard those rumors? One lady said. Heard what? Catherine asked in confusion. Miss Everglade lifted both hands and made a gesture around her abdomen. Miss Brown is pregnant. Hearing this, Catherine, who had been drinking tea, spat it out. What? Catherine was shocked. Goodness, Sybil Brown? Truly? She was still an unmarried young lady and not yet of age. This was too shocking. It seemed she wanted to hide it and stay home all the time. Last time, Miss Cindley happened to run into her taking air in the suburbs. What happened? Catherine's shock seemed to interest Miss Cindley, who took up the story. She was terribly frightened. When asked who her lover was, she refused to say. It must be some unspeakable relationship. She said she would give birth to the child and raise it herself. Completely insane. What? She does not know who the child's father is? Only the Brown family knows, I suppose. Perhaps the other party did not want to take responsibility and ran away. After all, if he were an ordinary nobleman who would seriously date a young lady from the Brown family, which is nothing but a name, he was probably just playing with her. Fortunately, she stopped going out after becoming pregnant. Out of sight, out of mind. To be honest, she was never really one of us to begin with. How did she get into the salon back then? Probably luck. Thinking of Sybil Brown, she was an excessively kind girl. Back then, after Madame Mira, the salon hostess, recommended a book, they had gotten to know her by chance, and she joined them. Remembering how Sybil had only blushed shyly whenever asked about her lover, Catherine was deeply shocked. She was pregnant, and the father had run away? Was that not absurd? You know, women should be proper and composed, not sleep with people casually. She clearly did not think things through. Goodness, perhaps that man came from a prestigious family. Perhaps she thought this was an opportunity to change her life. She is too stupid. How is she going to prove it is a child? What did she think would happen? She makes all women share in her shame. The young ladies chattered all at once. So she was pregnant, that man had run away, and these people found it amusing? Catherine thought. She set down her cup abruptly. Is it wrong to trust someone? Catherine said loudly. The 5 young ladies all looked at Catherine at once. How could Miss Brown have known the man would run away? You say she wanted to use the child to climb upward, when you clearly know she is not that kind of person. Your words are too much. Enough. If you cannot show her even a little sympathy, then at least do not humiliate her. Saying that stupidity worsens women's image. Are you truly women yourselves? Catherine continued, Miss Grint, we did not mean it that way. Miss Everglade stood up and said, What do you mean you did not mean it that way? You questioned her character. Even if you do not sympathize with her, you should not say things like she slept around casually. Just because her family has fallen, you think you can slander her at will? You spend all day speaking of feminine chastity, yet judge people by status. That is what truly violates noble virtue, Catherine said. Miss Grint, we were wrong. Please calm down. The young ladies apologized. It seems I'm the one unworthy of staying here. I will not come again. Take care, everyone. Miss Grint. Miss Everglade hurriedly grabbed Catherine's skirt, but Catherine shook her off with force and left the salon angrily. Perhaps it was because I saw myself in her. Catherine thought, I lost control of my emotions. If Het had not proposed to me, those girls might have directed all that hatred at me instead of Miss Brown. As she descended the stairs, Catherine noticed someone downstairs. Commander Het. It seemed he had been waiting for her below the whole time. How did you know I was here? Catherine asked. I went to your residence. They said you would be here, Het answered. Just like that, she was reminded again of that rainy day. About what we discussed last time, Het asked. You mean when I said I did not want a loveless marriage? Catherine asked. Yes. What exactly did you mean by that? Het asked. I meant exactly that. I did not want to fall into a loveless marriage. Catherine said. If I must marry, I want it to be with someone who truly loves me. I want to fall in love first, then grow within that love through marriage. I know it sounds childish, does it not? Catherine continued. That day I thought too much and said a lot of nonsense. Forget it, then the kind of relationship you want. Het said, why not have it with me? Though the order is reversed, what does that matter? HM? Het suddenly flushed as he spoke. His words left Catherine stunned. As you said, we are going to marry anyway. So if what you need is love, then is it not reasonable to try falling in love with me? Het said hurriedly, yes, but Catherine stammered. Wait, you're willing to date me? She suddenly realized. Faced with Catherine's humble question, Tiberius fell into shocked silence for a long time. He was an advocate of no marriage without love and a man who rejected marriage. Such beliefs usually came from a pursuit of a free life. What exactly have you been hearing all this time? Het said loudly. All along, I have said that I want to try dating you. That has never changed. Het said yes. The order in which we do things is somewhat confused, but who cares? As long as the feelings are sincere. Can you truly date someone like me? While we are dating, you will not date anyone else, right? Catherine rambled. No, I was overthinking just now. I said something foolish. You can continue living freely. We will maintain appearances and leave each other some room. What freedom? I am a knight. Is having a fiancé and flirting with others supposed to be a joke? That is why I tore up that so-called happy marriage agreement of yours. But you're not allowed to have that kind of casual romantic relationship either, Het lectured. So that was the key point? I did not originally intend it that way. That clause was for your sake, Catherine said. Ah, you're going to drive me insane. Truly, Het said. What did you just say? Catherine said threateningly. Goodness gracious. Hearing the word love from the mouth of this man who sneered at marriage and had even bluntly proposed being partners was truly unexpected. Though it was not the answer she had initially hoped for, it somehow fit with her own desire to try dating. This man, who found even romantic games troublesome, had agreed so readily. Hidden within his knightly spirit was such thoughtfulness. Then we'll count today as the first day, Catherine said as she wiped away the red ink from the seal with a wet cloth. Amy was even more excited than Catherine. Of course it counts as the first day. My goodness, it's the first time you've officially had a boyfriend, miss. Though it isn't the traditional order of romance, and it may be meaningless, this is the only kind of love I can have as a noble lady. Trust me, miss. Lord Het is the best man. I have such a good eye for people, don't I? Amy said. I trust you, Catherine said. Come to think of it, what are these? Catherine asked, looking at the letters on the table. Greetings from the upper circles. Madame Merrill asked me to pick out the ones that need replies. I put it off until now. Oh, right. Madame Merrill will be back soon, won't she? Catherine asked. Yes, in 3 days. Amy said, oh dear. We chatted so much I forgot the time. I need to sort these greeting cards quickly. Amy scratched her head. As Amy began organizing the pile of cards, I idly flipped through them. Brewer's Sausages, Madame Bivar's Antique Interiors, Kitchen Grocers, Silent Wheel. The shop names were all strange. When a new year arrives, trading companies that do business with our family send thank you letters. And we only send replies to those with whom we intend to continue working. In the past, this had always been an internal family matter handled by my mother. After she passed away, Madame Merrill had taken over the task. Shall I help? Catherine asked. Miss, you'd better not. You don't even know where we order our food supplies from or where we buy our kitchen utensils. To be honest, I have no idea. I was just bored, Catherine said. I thought as much, Amy said in a triumphant tone. These trading companies really do have some character. HM, what kind of shop is this? Suddenly, a card with no shop name, only the word Phil, caught her eye. The contents were strange as well. Thank you for your continued patronage. We await word on whether cooperation will resume. Who sent a New Year's greeting like that? It makes one want to cancel the transaction outright, Catherine thought. Amy, is this really a legitimate business? Catherine asked. HM, what is this? If it's something I don't recognize, it's probably some kind of herbal supplement. Amy looked it over. She said, these must be people we dealt with when Madam was still alive. Some of them still think she is alive and keep sending greetings. Oh, I see. Catherine said, when my mother was alive, she relied heavily on medicine. My father insisted that she try anything that might be good for her health. Madame Merrill used to order rare and expensive herbs from all over. Then I suppose we don't need this anymore. Catherine said, all right, hand it to me. I'll gather them up and dispose of them together, Amy said. Ansel remembered everything that had happened that day again. After he and Casey had kissed passionately. Hold on a little longer. Brother, why are you so weak? I'll take care of it. I'll go see Catherine. Don't lose heart. Only you could destroy that bastard. Right, Catherine? Though Casey had repeated sweet words to him, Ansel kept thinking back to that day. Who do you think is the person who can love me? Casey said. Catherine's husband had to be him. It could only be him. Ansel forced down the darkness in his heart. If you weren't Catherine's man, I don't think I would ever have fallen in love with you. Ansel thought, of course, that is how it should be, enduring his headache. That position belongs to me. The words spoken to Catherine at Henna's salon that day circled in Ansel's mind. When he left Catherine's house, what filled his head was not his lover's lovely appearance, but Catherine's final expression. Didn't you say there was no training today? Brother, I think this suits you. Why must we marry just because marriage is mentioned? Why can't we date first? He had thought a relationship that had lasted the same way for 10 years would not have problems. Even if he drew a clear line, as long as he coaxed her, she would follow behind him as she always had. I still think canceling the wedding is the best choice. Ansel was utterly confused. Catherine's sudden change in attitude made him agitated. He knew how to be loved, but not how to love. His clumsy actions had brought a bleak result. Don't tell me Tiberius Het, that superior officer who once had no connection with him or with Catherine, had complicated feelings for Catherine in his eyes that went far beyond a knight's respect for a lady. That warning still left him uneasy. And yet, what he said to me that day was, "If you dare lay a hand on that woman again, I'll cut everything off and make sure you can never do such a thing again." That was not merely a knight's warning not to harass a lady. Damn it, when on earth did those two at the Grint Count's residence? Casey walked in a hurry. "Well, look who it is. Isn't this Casey? It's in a long time." Count Grint said, "Wait, isn't Meryl coming back tomorrow? Let's have a meal together to celebrate her return." He spoke on his own. "Isn't that right?" Catherine raised a smile toward Count Grint, while curses surged in her heart. How disgusting and utterly nauseating. To others, this would make him appear kind and generous. In truth, he was only desperately covering for his shameful wife and daughter. If he was merely going to show perfunctory affection, he would have been better off doing nothing from the beginning. How ridiculous, celebrating the return of a maid from abroad. Catherine loathed the Count's hypocritical, fatherly kindness. If not for him, she would always be reduced to a hidden existence, only able to hover humbly at Catherine's side. "No, I have to go home and prepare to welcome my mother. Anyway, Meryl will come to our house first. You're with Kathy today anyway." "Oh dear, that little troublemaker must have plenty she wants to say to you." The Count said, "Little troublemaker? What has she done now? Go ask her yourself. She must be waiting for you." The Count looked toward Catherine's room on the second floor and smiled slyly, but his eyes were filled with genuine affection. "If only that were true, then I wouldn't be so hurt. I wouldn't have this urge for revenge." "Then I'll go look in Catherine's room now," Casey said. "All right, I hope you have a wonderful time together." The Count said, "The pain I felt whenever I was beside the noble daughter, Catherine Grint. Mother once said that whenever she saw the Count together with the Countess, she felt the same way." Casey thought, but Mother overcame her grief and humiliation in her own way. "Now it is my turn. I will take revenge on the Count in my own way too. I'm planning to wear a burgundy dress. This should go well with it." "Oh dear, will it look too dark?" When the door opened, Catherine and Amy were choosing jewelry in front of the mirror. The table was covered in expensive ornaments. When the door opened, Catherine and Amy were choosing jewelry in front of the mirror. The table was covered in expensive ornaments. Casey cleared her throat. "Catherine, oh, you're here. Wait a moment." Catherine did not even turn her head, her attitude strangely perfunctory. "This one or this one? Both are pretty, but the ruby suits your complexion better, miss." The two of them clearly knew she was there, yet they chatted and laughed as if no one else were present. "Does this one look better? Or this one?" Catherine asked. "Both are very beautiful, but I think the ruby suits you better than the pearl," Amy said. "Really? Then I'll choose the ruby," Catherine said. Casey felt a sourness in her heart. "Catherine, I came because I need to talk to you. It's about Brother Ansel." Casey took the initiative and strode forward. "Brother Ansel? What about him?" Catherine said in an indifferent tone. "Oh, before that, I also have something I want to talk about." Catherine finally turned around and pushed an invitation over. "I'm getting married." Catherine's casual words made Casey's expression change abruptly. This was something Casey had not expected. "What do you mean?" Casey tore open the invitation with trembling hands. When the name Tiberius Het came into view, she nearly fainted. "You know him, the most sought-after man in the capital. He's a suitable match for our family as well. Father was surprised at first, but now he likes him very much. Much better than Brother Ansel, right, Amy? I didn't intend to enter marriage so hastily, but he was so eager to marry as soon as possible that I couldn't refuse him." "Kathy, you startled me. Why are you shouting?" Catherine rested her chin on her hand and smiled ambiguously. "I'm just truly shocked. What on earth happened?" Casey tried to remain calm as she spoke. "It hasn't even been that long since we last met. You could at least have told me in advance. Compared to you, who kept hiding things from me all along, isn't it better that I'm telling you honestly now?" Casey froze. "Even if it is a little late, I still told you about it. Isn't that better than keeping silent until I was driven into a dead end? Don't you agree?" Keeping silent until she was driven into a dead end. Catherine's vision went dark. Kept hiding things. Hiding what? She did not dare ask, afraid of hearing an even crueler truth. Catherine was clearly provoking her deliberately. "Why? What on earth are you talking about?" "Ah." Meryl looked at her daughter curled on the floor, screaming endlessly. Casey's eyes were bloodshot. She slowly walked in and grabbed her daughter's trembling hand. The other woman immediately threw herself into her arms. "My daughter. My poor daughter." Under her mother's gentle caress, Casey finally broke down and cried. Yet Meryl's hand stroked her back while there was not the slightest ripple in her eyes. Casey acted spoiled in her arms. "What do I do now?" "Mother, I don't know." "You don't know?" Meryl suddenly slapped her. "I told you your mother's life was ruined by you. You must pay it back, mustn't you? Our poor child." Didn't I tell you? I hated that woman who took my place. Didn't I tell you? It was pitiful that I raised you all alone. Didn't you say you could only watch Ansel from afar, yet could not call him father? Didn't you say you felt wronged? She lived an elegant life, thriving more and more, lacking nothing. But outside, they called you a fatherless child. You said that was so unfair. My darling. She suddenly seized her daughter's hair. Casey tilted backward from the pain. Meryl stared at her pale face, her expression turning cold and warm by turns. Why are you nothing like me? Ugh, Catherine, my child, you have always been ruining my life. So you must pay it back, yes? Our poor child. She released her hand and gently stroked her daughter's back again. Casey hurriedly nodded. Yes, I will, mother. The empire exploded with uproar. The top news was the rumor about Ansel Morrill, the sole heir of Count Morrill's family. At the Grint Count's residence, he had fought a débarrage duel with Tiberius Het, commander of the Imperial Night Order. It was definitely not to plead for a subordinate. Rumors spread everywhere. People speculated about the reason for the duel and wondered how Ansel, who had lost his knightly honor, would carry himself. At that very moment, news arrived today. Catherine Grint, the precious jewel of the Grint Count's household, would marry Tiberius Het, commander of the Imperial Night Order. Tiberius had once been the man of young ladies' dreams in the capital, yet his bride was Catherine, who was not even from the highest tier of nobility. This sent the capital into complete turmoil. Talk of Catherine's appearance, the love story between the two of them, and the rumor that Ansel had once nearly become the Grint family's son-in-law were spread with endless embellishment. Some even said that the duel had truly been a private grudge over Catherine. At least, that was how the story went. Of course, anyone with even the slightest understanding of the knightly system would laugh such stories off. But the commoners of the capital had no way of knowing what had really happened. Alexander Grint, who knew the inside story, only found it absurd. What was he thinking right now? He just appeared as if nothing had happened, and not even alone. The knights discussed among themselves. He watched Ansel training as usual in the training ground, with Casey beside him watching the training. Ansel Morrill really is shameless. If gossip could save your life, you should have stayed at home. What are you doing showing your face in public? And you even brought Casey with you. What is this? Wow, but she really is beautiful. The two of them look quite well matched together. Still, what exactly is going on between her and Morrill? The knights spoke one after another. He has not been broken up with Miss Grint for long, and he already has a new lover? One knight asked. Maybe they're just acquaintances. Alexander was staring at the thick-skinned Ansel when someone lightly patted his shoulder. He turned back and saw his superior officer, who lately had been smiling so broadly his mouth almost reached his ears. Commander, what is it? Grint had asked. Me? I was just preparing to return home after training. However, Alexander choked on the awkward form of address and jerked his chin to the side. Ansel was training as though nothing had happened, with Casey beside him. Tiberius shrugged. I expected it. Don't worry. All right, when you return home, give this to Catherine for me. He handed over a small box stamped with a dessert shop's logo. What's this? Alexander asked. I bought it at number 11 Bout Street. A new Mont Blanc Castella from Chocolate Pom Pom Bakery. She said she wanted to eat it. By the time I finish training, it will probably be too late. Het said. Alexander raised his brows with a dry smile and accepted the box. Brother Alex. A familiar voice came from behind him. Casey approached with a bright smile. Oh, Casey, are you enjoying the visit? Alexander asked. Very much. But Casey glanced toward Tiberius. This must be the commander, right? Catherine's, yes. This is our commander. And also Catherine's. Alexander introduced him. I know. Casey smiled gently. Catherine has been busy with the wedding lately, so she hasn't had a chance to formally introduce us. Fortunately, I met you here. I am Casey Bennington. If you don't mind, Lord Het, could I borrow a little of your time? Casey suddenly withdrew her smile. Catherine has been busy with the wedding lately, so she hasn't had a chance to formally introduce us. Fortunately, I met you here. I am Casey Bennington. I'm glad we finally have the chance to speak today. Oh, you're my wife's friend. Tiberius still smiled, so broadly the corners of his mouth bloomed like flowers. He lifted Casey's hand and kissed it. Tiberius Het, it is an honor to meet you. Casey said, Kathy is like a real younger sister to me. I must see whether you are worthy of her. If you fail my test, I will not acknowledge you. I think I should get to know what kind of person you are. Kathy said, this is my first time visiting this palace. If it weren't for Brother Ansel, I never could have imagined having such an experience. Casey said, If it weren't for Ansel, Tiberius nodded perfunctorily. Brother Ansel is the gentlest person. Catherine used to like him so much. I'm sorry, I shouldn't have mentioned that, Casey said. It's all right. Tiberius was expressionless. Please don't worry. When I went to deliver the invitation last time and saw Catherine, she seemed to like you very much. Casey leaned closer. I've never seen her smile like that at Ansel. Tiberius secretly clicked his tongue. Catherine kept saying she wanted a date, yet she wouldn't even call him her lover and only knew how to count the days. However, if she was only saying pleasant things out of goodwill, then I believe Catherine does indeed have a good friend, Tiberius said. How did you and Catherine meet? Het suddenly asked. My mother is a servant of the Grint family and has worked there for 20 years. Casey lowered her head. Catherine is a treasured, noble daughter, yet she never kept any distance from me. When I was young, I didn't understand, but now I know how rare that was. I didn't quite understand it when I was little either, but the Count and Countess, the Alex brothers, and Kathy all welcomed me warmly. Only after I matured did I understand how grateful I ought to be. Now that I think of it, she seems to get along well with my servants too. Het thought distracted. When she visited our house, she quickly became comfortable with Sonia and Glenn. Her behavior truly isn't like that of a typical noble girl. I met Brother Ansel when I was 12. Casey continued. You've heard about it, haven't you? He saved Catherine's life. Back then, when the night order was on patrol, they found Catherine unconscious. The Count was overjoyed. I have always been grateful to him too. Tiberius frowned and gave a low hum. Later, the three of us became especially close. Ansel and Alex were old friends to begin with. The two of you were like real sisters then? Het followed her words. Yes. Casey sighed. Once, Ansel invited us to the Morrill family villa. I should not have gone. Catherine never said it, but she must have thought I was in the way. After that, she ignored me for a week. But after that, I no longer disturbed them. Tiberius narrowed his eyes and observed her. Were those words unintentional or deliberate? The Morrill family has many villas. They often went to stay alone for a few days. Casey's tone was bitter. Though I was jealous, as long as Catherine was happy, that was enough. Miss Casey, Tiberius interrupted. I'm not particularly interested in hearing about Ansel. Let's change the subject. Oh dear, I'm sorry. It's just that the three of us have so many memories together. There is no need to apologize. It's simply that I'm not generous enough to calmly listen to stories about my fiancé's former lover. Tiberius smiled without smiling. Actually, the reason I keep mentioning Ansel is because I would like to ask something of you, Casey said cautiously. I heard that at the Grint residence, you used débourrage against him. I don't know the reason, but your punishment has made him very sad. Even if Catherine says nothing, I'm sure in her heart she wants his honor restored. For various reasons, she may not be able to say this to you herself, but I firmly believe this is what she hopes for. Miss Bennington, how are you so certain Catherine would think that? Het said, Catherine and I are not merely friends. We practically grew up together. Casey's tone was certain. Lord Het, it may be a little rude of me to say this to you, but my understanding of Kathy is very likely far deeper than yours. Tiberius stared at her. You may understand her better than I do, but I very much doubt that Catherine hopes Ansel will be treated leniently. I'm not sure when they ended that relationship, but given that they were once close, anything could have happened between them. Casey replied, what happened between Brother Ansel and Catherine, I do not think it is an issue that should be handled in the context of knightly honor. It is merely a personal matter between the two of them. Miss Casey, Tiberius interrupted and gave a cold laugh. Do you know which knightly code Ansel violated? Casey's expression changed slightly. I was truly worried at the time, so I asked Brother Ansel about it. Is there a problem? No need. In any case, no one else knows. Ansel himself won't go around telling people either. However, Tiberius stepped closer. You know what happened in the residence, yet you still plead for him. Just because they were once lovers, and because you think Catherine thinks the same way? Something was wrong. It had been wrong ever since she kept mentioning Ansel. Was this woman truly foolish, or was she deliberately sowing discord? Het thought. I wondered whether she was merely a thoughtless friend, or whether she was intentionally driving a wedge between Catherine and me. After listening longer, the situation became clear. It was definitely the latter. Do you truly care about Catherine? Het asked. What do you mean? Casey said, Catherine can be very naive at times, even foolish, but in my eyes, she is adorable. Tiberius stood up, his expression hard and cold. But letting someone who tried to assault her remain her friend for 10 years is an utterly foolish choice. Perhaps I judged you too hastily, Miss Bennington. But in fact, Catherine chose to keep you and Ansel by her side for more than 10 years. That is not something I can simply dismiss as cute. It is too disrespectful. Casey said, keeping a friend who defends the man who harassed her. Het said, that is the most foolish thing Catherine has ever done. Truly, utterly foolish. Tiberius no longer looked at her and walked straight out of the room. Ordinarily, Tiberius should have gone to the Grint residence, but now his head was full of anger, so he could only return home first. On the way, he thought things over again and again. There was more than one strange thing, but the strangest was still his fiancée's taste. What exactly did she see in Ansel? He tried hard to calm his anger, but he kept remembering the intimate memories of the two of them alone that Casey had deliberately brought up. "Master, you're back. Ha ha ha. There's an amazing gift in your room." "Shut up. I'm in no mood to listen to jokes." Tiberius brushed Glenn aside, pulled off his coat, and rushed into the bedroom. A piece of human filth who forced himself on a woman. What charm did he have that made her like him for 10 years? Ed's heart was filled with rage over all sorts of things. He simply went to the mirror, took off his clothes, and carefully examined himself in the reflection. What exactly made Catherine mistake me for Ansel that day? If she truly doesn't remember that incident at all, that would be one thing. Het thought, if I had known earlier it would become like this, I would have acted myself long ago. And much sooner. I would have gone directly to Count Grin himself. How childish. He turned and laughed at himself. Catherine, he suddenly stopped in his tracks. Sitting on the bed was clearly Catherine, who should have been at the Grint residence, holding a half-eaten Mont Blanc Castella in her hands. The silver fork fell onto the plate with a clang. Both of them froze at the same time. Catherine had intended to hide here and startle him, but instead she saw his half-naked upper body, his broad chest covered in scars fully exposed. Why are you here?" Tiberius was shocked. "You didn't come to see me, so I came here," Catherine said, looking away. "What's the point of just sending a cake?" She pretended to look at the cake, but out of the corner of her eye, she could not help drifting toward him. He suddenly walked toward Catherine. His broad shoulders, solid muscles, and crisscrossing scars were shocking to behold. Knife wounds, sword wounds, piercing wounds. "I understand. Hurry and put some clothes on." Catherine blushed and spoke in a rush. "Darling, why are you suddenly so shy?" Het said gently. "We've already seen everything there is to see. We even stamped the marriage contract together and became husband and wife."